Hi, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Dean. Nice to see you. Good to be here. Hi. Is that loud? Was I really loud? I feel like I'm loud today.
No, you're good.
Am I loud? Can you hear me? Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
You're good.
Hello. Welcome back. Nice to see you. My name is Dean. Time for the program that is Lochlin Cross 957 Cruise FM in Edmonton. We've got a fairly busy show today, as a matter of fact. Busy. We've got Alex Tagliani from the NASCAR Pinty's Racing Series. Tags. He's going to be on with us, Canadian race car legend. And his buddy who also does kart racing is part of his crew. His name's Colin Livingstone from CanTorque. Great little company out of Edmonton, Alberta. You know these guys. We got some golf to talk about today. We got Shooter McGavern to talk about today. Yeah, that's Shooter McGavern. He's made a switch. He's made a switch like everybody else has. So we'll get to that coming up a little later on. More details about that wacky. Oh yeah, that wacky church that we talked about yesterday, which in Ottawa we did a little digging, some uncovering.
The tree church.
Yeah, the Gondor Tree Church. We know who's behind it. So anyway, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on as well. So full day.
I have a question for you about how people. Do people use churches to launder money?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay,
Big thing.
all right.
And casinos and racetracks and all that other stuff. Yeah,
that's what
cash
that
businesses.
Like.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Hot dog stands.
In my opinion,
that's a great one.
What's that?
Hot dog stands. Street meat guys. They're not paying their fair share.
No, those guys are like shoveling at least like one glizzy goes in the pocket, the other glizzy goes in the bank. You don't see one out of two glizzies. That's the deal when you launder money with a hot dog stand or a donair stand. They got fancy ones here in Toronto right now, but it's not the place to be. Edmonton's a place to be.
I would definitely agree. I'm not disappointed about the fact that I got complaints about what we're dealing with, occasionally. The city announced this year that they weren't going to spray for mosquitoes.
Yeah.
They didn't want to use the chemicals, I guess, so they're saving us all. And you should see it here.
Bad mosquito issue, I've heard. Yeah. Like you can't even go like after 6 o'clock, something like after 6 o'clock, you're fucked. If it's not super hot or if it's not raining, you got to go out and cover yourself in DEET.
Yeah. Which apparently is better than the spray that they would have used, to get rid of to combat the situation. Not only that, we have one of the wettest springs we've had in, I don't know how many years. So they're literally carrying away pets and it's just awful. We went to the pet store last night, my wife and I, to get bug spray for our dog. I kid you not, because he's getting eaten alive. He's getting eaten alive.
Yeah, but who fucking cares? Dogs and cows and
dog.
cattle and horses all
it's
get bit by mosquitoes all the time. No, nothing's going to happen to him. He's going to itch. That's it. He's going to do one of these with his paw. Big deal. No. Come on. What are you doing to that dog? You're entitling that dog. Huge.
I love my dog, and we're going to put bug spray on him. You know what? It's not so much for day-to-day around here.
Mm-hmm.
It's more for when we go camping, because it was bad when we were camping. And I was like, oh, man, I'm not spraying, woods off on them. So we're going to... Deep woods.
Well, good for you. Listen, I wanted to talk about Edmonton, but I only want to talk about Edmonton not because of the mosquitoes, because everybody has mosquitoes. Canada's a fucking mosquito haven. I want to talk about Edmonton because it is going to be a hotbed of Catholic activity this weekend.
Yeah.
Hotbed.
We're calling it Pope Fest.
Yeah, you should. The Popeski's coming to town. Pope Frankie or Jorge, depending on who you want to call him. Pope Frankie's coming to town, Edmonton, Alberta this weekend. Starting his long visit. He's here for a week, and he's starting in Edmonton on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you feel about God's representative on earth?
Well,
wait, hang on. Leaving the Vatican, Rome, Italy, beautiful, cappuccinos, altar boys, all that stuff. And he's flying all the way over here, and he's going to land in Edmonton. That's the holiest cat on the planet, if you believe one of 1.7 billion Catholics. That is the guy. He is like a direct conduit to God, to Christ, the Lord and Savior, the 3-in-1, the Holy Trinity. He's the guy. And he's coming to Commonwealth Stadium where the Edmonton Elks play. And he's going to say sorry for something that his church and his people have done to the Indigenous folks of this country for 400 years. He's going to say sorry for residential schools. Apparently, he's going to go, my bad. Sorry, bud. Oops. Sorry, guys. But is he going to say sorry for all the other stuff? And are you excited for that apology? Do you expect an apology? And here's a question. Are you going to Pope Fest, Locke?
No. I could give 2 flying shits that man is coming to town.
He's not a man. He's God's conduit on earth, the old Pope.
Whatever. I don't care. I am the least religious person you will ever meet. I know nothing about it. I do worry that we have a tendency to offend people on our show on the locker room. So I usually, when it comes to religion, so we actually had a long conversation today about some of our plans tomorrow regarding the Pope's visit. So that's my concern about it. Now, I will say this. I am glad that he's like the top dog, right? The Pope.
Yeah, he's like number one in the Catholic hierarchy. He's like literally God made this guy him on earth. Like that is it. Like he is God on earth to all the Catholics, and you can't get to God without the Popeski. Yeah, that's the deal.
His fingers are all mashed up there.
I know. But, for a deity, he's got some terrible finger knuckles.
Yeah. So anyway, I think it's a good thing that he is coming to town. And if he does do what the intention is, which is to apologize. Now, I think it needs to go further. Personally, I think that they need to step up and pull some cash out of the vaults of the Vatican in Italy or wherever the hell he lives, and step up with a financial commitment, which will never happen because we all know they lack their money. So that's not going to happen. And outside of that, I don't care. Some people in town are annoyed because the amount of preparation and security and all the things you need to do when somebody of that stature worldwide comes to your town, it obviously is going to cost you money. So there are a couple of people I've heard that conversation. Yeah, and that one is
that the Pope's visit's going to cost taxpayer money. Is that they're upset by? Yeah, dude. Okay, so here's the thing. The Pope is coming to Edmonton, Alberta, and he's doing a cross-Canada tour. He's supposed to go to sites of residential schools, and he's supposed to apologize for all the damage that the Catholic Church has done to people and children across this country. A nice gesture, whatever.
Specifically the Indigenous population of Canada.
Specifically the Indigenous
population. For the residential schools, the Catholics' involvement. Worth saying out loud that there was more than one religion that housed the Indigenous population.
Anglicans? Oh, yeah. Lots. Yeah, but he's going to come and take it on the chin.
Yeah, apparently. I think he is. Yeah. That's what the rumor is.
And my understanding is the Indigenous community is actually quite excited for this. Like they're looking forward to hearing it from the Pope saying, yeah, we fucked up for 400 years. And yes, we shouldn't have done that and all the other stuff, which is really nice. The big question is, how brisk a business do you think they'll be doing on Grindr this weekend?
I'm not sure.
I think brisk.
If the Pope's visit will increase activity on Grindr.
I disagree. And I'll tell you why I disagree.
Send them a note.
You're going to have a bunch of unmarried dudes who do nothing but wear the robe, walk around miserable, give people wafers and wine on a few days of the week, tell people what to do when they get married, who haven't felt the loving embrace of anybody, and they're going on a fucking road trip because their boss is coming to town. You know what happens when you went to Canadian Music Week or when you went on trips, right?
I never went on Grindr.
Yeah, I know you didn't go on Grindr, but I'm saying a lot of people when they go on business trips is they're like, hey, wife's away, the mouse will play. And a lot of these guys have had no sex. And a lot of these guys, as you do know, have nefarious sexual needs that get visited by other things that are absolutely fucking terrible. So I have a feeling that you're going to see some serious action this weekend. Like, I would love to know about how brisk a business. It's kind of like the Super Bowl, right? Sort of like the Super Bowl. Every time the Super Bowl goes to a certain town, it's like a flotilla of sex workers just kind of follow everybody to the Super Bowl, and they're in town and they're doing a brisk business. I want to know if the folks on Grindr, some call people, girls or boys, are going to be extra busy this weekend when Frankie comes to town with all of his undersexed priests in tow. That's my question. Like, is it the same thing? These guys are, they're wanting. We know about the dastardly bullshit that they've done. I'm sure NAMBLA is going to be searched several thousand times while these guys are in town this week. North American Man Boy Love Association. It's a long story. Like the Boy Scouts girls. This is like, I want to know what's going. Sure, it's nice, great apology, which he probably doesn't mean, because it's not going to come with a big fat check, which I totally agree. Yeah. I want to know about the extracurriculars of this seedy cult and all the people that have been involved in it while it's going on this weekend. Now, I don't want to take away from the hope that a lot of people have that they don't do this whole, because there's a lot of old people, right, that are going to this weekend. That's what I read this weekend. Is like there are a lot of old people that really want to go see the Pope, but they can't get tickets because tickets are sold out, and they're actually scalping Pope Fest tickets online. I don't know if you saw that. $300-400 for a ticket.
Hold on, they're charging for mass?
No, they're not charging for it. It's totally free, but people have gotten their downloaded tickets, right? And now they're trying to sell them to go and see the Pope. So it's just like the Super Bowl. This is the Super Bowl of questionable sexual ethics every time he comes to town.
How much are people paying for free?
$400, $300, dude. Yes, sir. It is a business right now. People are scalping Pope Fest tickets. Of course, it seems wrong. Well, it's a rock show to the Catholics, right? They want to go.
Here's my thing. I obviously, again, I think people are well aware of my lack of knowledge of religion as a whole, my complete bafflement about the power of it based on my belief structure. So I'm confused by this whole thing to begin with.
Confused by the Pope's visit, or are you confused?
I'm confused by people's Catholic fascination with it. Yeah. I'm confused by all of it. Sure. Like devotion as a whole. I'm very, I guess maybe I shouldn't be, I believe people need something to believe in. Just that seems odd to me. Anyway, we can move on from that. I was wildly concerned about offending people today and tomorrow on the locker room, and then you brought up Grindr right out of the gates.
Well, listen, I'm just asking questions. Like, there's a reason why they have Catholic priests traditionally have a terrible fucking reputation, and their guy is coming to town. He's coming. Like, this is the Pope. This is the number one dude in the organization. It's like when your boss comes to town. It's like a convention for Catholics. And so these rogue guys that have questionable issues, hundreds of thousands of examples of the terrible things they've done in the past. You don't think they're going to let loose this weekend? You know who else is in Edmonton right now? And he's joining us on the podcast. Please welcome Colin Livingstone, ladies and gentlemen. Colin Livingstone from CanTorque.
What's going on, boys?
Beauty little fab company in Edmonton, Alberta. He's in Edmonton. You're in Edmonton. Before we get to CanTorque, before we talk to you and Alex about the NASCAR Pinty's Racing Series, before we talk to you about ethical businesses like yours, you excited for the Pope's visit? You got your tickets? Yes or no?
No.
Not excited.
If those were the two choices, that's where I leave it. No tickets for sure.
No. But are you excited he's coming to town? Are you excited that he's
like Christmas? I never get excited for Christmas either until it happens, and sometimes not even then. Now that my kids are older, so maybe I'll find my excitement, as the date gets closer. But it's too far out for me.
Yeah. Well, it's this weekend, by the way. So
can I tell you about our plans tomorrow morning?
He doesn't even know when it is. Like, you excited for the Pope coming down? Yeah, it's too far away from me. It's this weekend. I didn't know anything about it. I was just playing.
See, Colin's doing what every normal human being does that has a lack of understanding of religion. He's sitting there doing his best to try to avoid a conversation that he knows he shouldn't be having on a live podcast that hundreds, possibly thousands are watching at any given time. So he's trying to be safe. And you missed the Grindr conversation.
I saw it.
Okay.
I saw it. Yeah.
He doesn't want to get in on it. But
Whatever you got to do to, to avoid loneliness. I mean, get on it. I mean, Locke, you probably find a little bit more companionship out there. You just got to open your horizons a bit.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just saying that would probably be
not
the
gonna
app that
go
they
the
would use
grinder
according to the type of
path.
sexuality I've seen displayed, which is a great sexual. I mean, it doesn't matter who you love and how you love them, doesn't matter to me. But I'm guessing that would be the app they would probably use. Sort of how the Russians went into Ukraine and they're like, let's get it done. And the Ukrainians were bombing. I'm like, I think it'd be a really good idea if the police, maybe the rope squad, kind of kept an eye on Grindr and a couple of apps this weekend, just in the Edmonton area, just to make sure. Because like I said, boss is coming to town. You can go out and have a bunch of drinks with your friends. You might get a little randy, and you're like, hey, listen, it's been 48 years. I might want to get into it. I'm just saying, I'm interested in the extracurriculars. Have you been to the Super Bowl, Colin? You've been to the Super Bowl.
Never have, no.
Okay, this is the Super Bowl for Catholics.
No, Colin's not a sports guy. He's
a race car driver. He's a kart driver.
But he's into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we cannot sit here and have a conversation about the possibility of Patrick Kane coming.
Well, we could. I just, I mean, like most people, I would just be talking out of my ass and making stuff up. But, there's a reason why I'm not sitting in a general manager's office for any of these things.
Yeah. Speaking of talking out of your ass, welcome to the podcast. We do it every day. Colin Livingstone, CanTorque. Great to see you, buddy. NASCAR Pinty race car driver. Before we get to your series, which is going on this weekend, and we've had a nice break from, not a nice break, tough break from COVID. If you love racing in the NASCAR Pinty series, so awesome to have you back. And I want to talk about business ethics as well, because I had a mind-blowing conversation with you the other day about something that you've done that more Canadian companies need to do. But before you do that, I want to get into this. Can you explain this to me? Because you and I had a conversation. What we're looking at, if you're just, folks, if you can't see this, there's a picture of, I believe, 12 to 13 broken golf clubs snapped in half deliberately.
How many clubs are you allowed in your bag? It's 14, right?
Yeah. Correct.
So 14, so that's 13 of 14.
Yeah. Correct. For reference, the one that survived is the putter on the left. I just, brand new grip, brand new shaft, and that one is sacred. And I'd actually just replaced that because, not through a temper issue, just something got thrown on my bag while it was in my car. And, I had to rebuild that one. But yeah, I guess to put it mildly, I was having a round in which I was struggling a little bit, and knew that any more time on the golf course would not be to anyone's advantage. So the logical conclusion that I had at the time was to make sure that I had no more excuse to be on the golf course. And then once it started, it was so satisfying. Like I don't regret it at all. It was like it was so freeing. It was almost empowering. And then we got to get home early. We made a nice supper, had a bit of tequila, and had a good sleep.
Yeah, because you had the cathartic thing where you broke 13 out of 14 of the golf clubs in your bag. Who were you golfing with when you snapped those, buddies?
I was with my girlfriend, my salesman, and one of my sponsored race car drivers. So, salesman and the driver, they're kind of dependent on me. So they really couldn't say an awful lot. And Amanda's smart enough to know not to really say anything, especially when my dial goes to 11. So, it was kind of a quiet ride home, but that's okay. It ended pretty quick.
What did you start with? What did you start with first? Did you start with a wedge? Did you start with a driver? What was the first one to go?
How did your leg look?
Yeah. Over the course of the round, like earlier in the round, I had actually bent a 7-iron on a post, and what really pissed me off is that I kind of hit this questionable shot. I mean, like we said on the phone the other day, like where my dysfunction. I mean, I'm built on dysfunction. I'm not going to lie, but where this dysfunction happened is everything felt good. Like when my swing feels good, but the result doesn't match, it just kind of, it messes with my head. And, I hit a bad shot and I kind of reacted quickly. It wasn't like a thought, but I kind of hit an out of bounds, like one of the don't drive the cart in this grass post of the golf course, and my club bent. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't use this. I actually tried to straighten it, and then I tried to hit it, and then, kind of shit the bed again. So, okay, snap. So that was on hole 7. And then there was something else that happened on hole 10.
Yeah.
And that resulted in one more casualty. And then we got to hole 13, and it was just dumpster fire. And so then it was over.
It was
The thing people don't know, because I've golfed with Colin
Look at these
quite
clubs.
a few times. Colin is a really good golfer.
Yeah.
Like
Used
he
to be.
is. Yeah.
These are great hammers. These are like good-looking golf clubs. You've got,
that's a lot
if
of
I'm not
Nike.
mistaken, I think you've got some Nike stuff in there. You
Got a
got some
Cobra.
Karsten Ping stuff. Is it a Cobra driver? Is that what I see? Cobra SI driver.
That's an M1 tailor-made driver. Used to be. I've got a Ping 7 wood, which I just love. The irons are, the main irons are tailor-made TP, kind of a progressive cavity. My wedges were like these old Nike Victory Reds that I bought 4 of each of these things because these are before the groove rules changed. So these things, like when I hit these, my ball, it's like hitting my ball with like a cheese grater. Like the ball just shreds. It's awesome. And I can spin
like
the
that
things
diamond
like crazy.
face groove that's totally illegal now. Yeah.
Yeah, totally illegal, but I'm not playing in competition, obviously.
Although I would love to see that on a PGA Tour event. Like someone just go full on Kevin Costner tin cup. Snap, no, give me another one. Snap, no, give me another one. Snap, no, give me another one. That's exactly what that was, right? But it's satisfying. If you haven't broken a golf club over your leg, were all those over your leg? Was it like an angry thing, or was it just like next club bang, next club bang? Like I know it happened over a few holes.
More of the former than the latter. No, it was the dial was at 11. There was steam. There were some expletives. And right over my quad. Like I ended up with probably about a 6-inch bruise and a couple of cuts because, like just a friendly tip from your pal CL, breaking a steel shafted club over your leg is not so bad, but graphite, man, that shit can cut you. And
splinters. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. And I mean, actually once when I was golfing with Locke, I chunked when we were playing Trestle. And
Trestle Creek, I remember this.
First
was that the same day I shit my pants on hole 1?
Are you talking about literally, or are you talking about bad golf?
Well, no. I shit my pants. I had to go back and clean up and met you guys on 3.
Nope, that was not the same day.
That might not have been you.
I don't recall any defecation. That would probably stand out. But
I bent down and
and you flirted
to get my ball after the first hole and had to go back and clean up.
That's definitely the Locke maneuver. But yeah, I snapped a 4 hybrid over my knee, and the thing didn't break clean, and I ended up with a chunk of graphite
in your leg.
And
okay, I remember that now.
I got most of it out, but there was a chunk in there. Like even when I got home, because we went back to my place afterwards and we had a beer or two, and I actually had to like cut an incision. Like kind of open up my skin a bit to extract the one piece. It was, memorable.
So fuck, did it feel good? That's the thing. Like you're like, I'm doing like minor surgery at home to get a piece of my golf club out of my leg, but fuck, did that feel great?
Dr. Livingstone, I presume I've heard too many times in my life. So yeah, I mean, I'm an amateur surgeon.
Yeah, I bet you are. How long have you guys known each other? And you're both from Edmonton, obviously. And how did you guys get to know each other? Do you have that origin story?
The bear.
Yeah, I used to be a sponsor of the radio station Locke was on, and through a couple of events, I can't remember. I think it was actually with Alex one day. We brought him into when Locke was doing Drive on the Bear, and I mean, dysfunction kind of craves dysfunction, so we've been buddies ever since.
Oh, just hearing that story, like hearing the story and talking to Locke, I'm like, and Locke's like, he's a beauty. And now after meeting you and talking to you the other day and then seeing those golf clubs, I'm like, there's no reason you guys aren't best friends forever. Speaking of which, this is a picture of you guys, I think, when you're in there. This is interesting. This is a picture of you. This is you on the hard
that was
left.
My fat day.
Right?
Ooh, look at Locke's hair and look at how fat I was.
Well, you look a little thicker there. There's Alex. Can't wait. He's going to be in just a second. He's running a little late. There's Jimmy, who looks like he's 7.
Diesel.
And there's a guy I used to work with. Apparently his name's Warren on the right. Love
Yeah.
the beard. Looks like he should have been in Ottawa back in early, February, maybe January. But can we deal with your hair here, Lochlin? Like, why on
I've
earth
never
did you
had a good lid, and that was me. That was before I was willing to give up on any length of hair, right? Like I was.
Yeah, but
still
look at the
trying-
top. Like you've got the full widow's peak that goes like 12 inches almost to the crown of your head, and then you got the tuft at the top. Did you do? I want to ask you, did you do the tuft? Because you got your boy Colin Livingstone from CanTorque, hard left here. He's got like fucking incredible salad.
He's got a good lid, yeah.
Yeah, and then you got that. Were you doing that to like have more volume, or just to kind of like
No.
was it an optical illusion? What were you doing with that hair?
No. I just didn't cut it, and I didn't style it or anything like that. That's headphone hair. I mean, that was like I said. There was a point where I was just like, I got to just start knocking it down. I was also about 260, 265 at that point. That's like 2012 is my guess. 2013.
I'm gonna say that's 14. That's probably the first year we started that team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Okay, then, and I started to lose a bit of weight after that. That's because I'd stopped playing hockey for a couple years because I broke my tailbone when I was 40. So in 2010, I broke my tailbone. So, and shortly after that, I started to knock my hair down to the wood.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a good-looking man. And I've never been very photogenic.
You don't say.
You look stunned. Like
Every time the billboards go up in town too, I always have a moment of panic because our promotions department never clears the pictures with me. Not that it would make a difference, but they always just make me look just like a tool.
Like
so
an idiot.
Yeah.
And guys like us don't need a ton of help in that department either, right? Like we can do it all on our own. But no, I was amazed at this picture. You sent it over, Colin, and I've never seen Lochlin with hair, and so I just wanted to know the theory behind what he was trying to do with what he had left there. And that looks so much fucking better, dude. You look like
I know.
cleaner.
Well, I know, but again, like I said, I was at a point where I was still sort of thinking that if I grew it out a bit, that it might hide the fact that I was well on my way to baldness, right?
Yeah.
And then you realize that it's pointless. So you knock it down. You just,
go bald. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
See, and this is the thing. Guys like us will never do it, Colin, because we don't.
You don't
like,
need to.
No, but like I look at guys that do have no hair, and I'm like, that would be so much better. Like if you've got hair and you have to style it, and sometimes it gets long. Going for a haircut sucks. You do all that on your own. You do it at home. You get to a certain age, and I think we're all basically the same vintage, where it's like function over form, right? Like, and then I look back at this picture of you, and I'm like, yeah, dude, I would rather be going bald than have this white hair that I have, this incredibly silver Arctic blonde hairdo. I would rather have nothing. I'd rather be like that. But my theory is that maybe you were just trying to make it look like, I don't know, maybe it looked like you still had hair. Maybe
you're putting way too much thought into it.
Okay,
Even when I had hair, I didn't brush it or comb it. I would just like literally do one of these when I left the house. I never put product in it. I mean, all that.
You can tell by that shirt there wasn't a lot of thought that went into that look anyway.
No. I'm actually surprised I even have a collar on.
That looks like we should be setting a picnic on top of you.
It looks like a beach towel with weird hair. Yeah.
Yeah. Like way to make us look like the fashionistas there with Diesel and Jimmy.
Oh man, dude, that's cool. Alex is going to be by in a while. Colin Livingstone joins us from CanTorque, part of the is it the Viagra racing team, the Tagliani Viagra racing team? Like, what do you call the racing team itself?
Technically, we're under 22 Racing now. So 22 Racing is based in Milverton, owned and operated by Scott Steckley, a 3-time champion. We had our own racing entity for, the commercial aspects of the race side of things, but now we just operate under 22. We bring our own sponsorship to the team, and we have a little bit of input on our crew and things like that. But yeah, we're just under 22 Racing. We was the number 18 in the NASCAR Pinty series.
Mm-hmm. But sponsored by Viagra, correct? One of your main
brings
sponsors.
A whole new meaning. Like when we greet each other now, when we say "What's up?" Like if the answer isn't correct, we got a solution for that.
Yeah, you do. Do you guys get freebies from?
Nope.
No.
No, we didn't get EpiPens when we were sponsored by them either. So
What?
yeah, but
I think they would have tossed you some.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I used to joke that I needed a pill to help keep it down, but the closer I get to 50, the more appealing that sounds.
Yeah, no kidding. Me too. Okay, so you guys are part of this racing team, but the racing team is kind of different, right? It's NASCAR Pinty racing series, and I want to get to kind of the team itself because it's really cool. It's like a huge family thing, and you guys have been doing it for a while. You and Alex have been partners for a long time. There's you and Alex both looking svelte and cool and ready to go. You're one of the drivers as well in the Kart series. Look at the beautiful CanTorque logo. Isn't that nice? Look at that. Beautiful CanTorque logo. This is you guys in Victory Lane.
First win, Sunset 2014, I want to say. Maybe 2015, yeah.
That's your first win as a team?
Yeah, that's in just outside of Barrie and Innisfil, just up the road from Toronto.
Oh yeah. I know exactly where this is. Absolutely, yeah. That's this is big time racing, and it was really cool because I'm on the 407 this year, and I'm seeing cars. It was a couple weeks ago, and I'm seeing cars and trucks, and I didn't see them for a couple of years. Cars and trucks with like flatbeds and trailers and racing team, and they had the schedule for all the NASCAR Pinty Series races for the year. You guys, I think, are currently in fourth in the point standings, right? If I'm not mistaken. So you're racing, doing well, you and Alex and your team. But this has been a long time coming. Like you guys had a break during COVID, right? How long has it been since? And how tough was that? Obviously, not only as a business, but just as a hobby, something that you love doing as much as you guys love doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. I mean, at our worst, which was in 2020, we were down to 3 events, which totaled 6. Technically it was 6 races, but we were doing, basically we took the race length of like 300 laps. We called it a 150 lap race and then a 150 lap race. So that was 2020, which was, the worst. We started getting back to a little bit more of normalcy last year with a slightly expanded schedule, but it was just run between Quebec and Ontario. So yeah, really glad that we're able to finally start bringing the series back out west. We have 2 races out here, back to back. So we race in Wetaskiwin at Edmonton International Raceway on Saturday. Then
what's that event called, Colin? Just in case people are looking it up. That one, Saturday event. What's the Saturday event called?
The Bayer 300. So, tickets and information are available at edmontonraceway.com. So we run Saturday and then head west to Saskatoon, and we race out there on Wednesday night.
Yeah, you head to Saskatoon on Tuesday. You race Wednesday in a NASCAR race. Alex heads home to Montreal, and then you go to a kart race Thursday to Sunday, right? Like, I mean, this is your summer. This is full time. And did you miss it during COVID? Like when all that shit happened, you guys were knee deep in it. You and Alex have had a really successful race team, race career. You've worked together for a long time. What was that like? And what was COVID like? How did you handle COVID in racing?
Well, I mean,
because it's such a different vibe, right? Like you're in a car. It's very different. Did you go drinking, as Locke suggested? Did you just take a couple of years off to get all boozed up?
Yeah, I mean, we never stopped. I mean, the drinking. I mean, if you stop drinking, you can lose your pro status. I'm not sure a lot of people know that, but
I've heard that.
Obviously the first year in 2020, way bigger fish to fry than worrying about whether we get to go racing or not. I mean, we were able to do a little bit of kart racing. It was really, really restricted. The first couple of months from memory, we weren't able to actually get to contest races. We were only allowed to go out and practice. We had to practice at specific times, break our group into, I think, eight people or less, and go out for like an hour and a half and then switch it up and things like that. Last year, things were a little bit better. And again, it's really tough to bitch and moan that, we don't get to go racing when so many people were losing businesses. People obviously, got really sick, people were dying. The world of racing is obviously important to us, but it's not that important that, we need to be that selfish. But now that things are slowly starting to return to normal and, kind of feel like we're getting back, we're just happy as hell. I mean, yeah, aside from the NASCAR race on Saturday, we bookend it with kart races. So I'll be squeezing, greasing my fat ass into my go-kart, tomorrow, kart 1 tomorrow, and then kart 2 on Sunday. So it's going to be pretty busy. And then
they're really cool looking too.
Oh, dude,
I've
these are the
been
karts.
down
This is what
to-
you're talking about. Yeah. Sorry.
They're
Go ahead.
fucking fun. They look so much fun.
yeah, that's that was taken. Cody Schindel from Canadian Karting News snapped that 2 weeks ago when we were in Saskatoon at Martinsville Speedway during the Rotax Canada final. Pretty like when you can take a big sack of potatoes like me and make it look moderately like a race car driver. I mean, the cart looks pretty good, but Cody takes some good pictures. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. Then after Saskatoon for NASCAR on Wednesday, I got to leave at like the crack of ass on Thursday morning to get back, because we have the big Rotax Canada final this weekend, where we've got a number of drivers that'll be racing our CRG karts that we're hoping that'll have a bid for the ticket to get to the Rotax Grand Finals in Portugal in November.
Well, so this is like there's a whole card series that's worldwide. Is that it? Like I'm like I did enough research into you and this and NASCAR Pinty series just to have a decent conversation. But the kart world, I'm not aware of, and I have a friend that's how he started, right? So he's very well heeled, and he was like 40 years old, and he's like, I love racing. I've never raced. I can race now. He went out and started buying karts, right? Yep. And he'd have the cart up on the hoist, and obviously he's going in races. And then he's like, I fucking love this so much. Yeah. And then he went into the Skip Barber tour, and he went to Skip Barber school for open wheel racing. And he's like, now he's got a couple of different cars. He races in a bunch of different series. I couldn't even tell you which ones. Some of the series that are underneath the series where you get the weird cars that go in is all open wheel shit. But karting is still his fucking favorite thing to do. Yep. It's like, it's crazy because he's like, dude, when you're karting as a kid and you get this feeling you can kind of go around and you're driving a car, and it's like amplify that by 30 and put rocket ships in those things. And he's like, it's literally like a trip down memory lane as a kid, but you could go at any moment. He said that's the excitement. You have because this is like, you saw these karts, right? These karts are like super fun, and we all identify with these as go-karts. I mean, just go-karting when you were a kid was incredible. Were you always, my point is, you were always a racer, or was this something like my buddy Mike, you're like, you know what, I've always wanted to do this, I'm going to buy a kart? Or were you at a race and you're like, no, man, like I want to get into this way, way worse than I wanted to do anything in my life, and I got the ability to do it, so I'm going to do it? Like, how did you fall into this stuff?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a freak, I think. Grew up in a little podunk town west of the city called Stony Plain. Saying that we were poor is probably a good enough label. That, these kinds of things were never an option for me. But as a kid, by the time I was about 8 years old, there were 2 races that we would be able to see on TV. So there was the Daytona 500 and the Indy 500. And somehow, as I'm, flipping through the 3 channels we had on probably what was a black and white TV when I was that age, I stumbled across racing. And, my parents thought I had, and justifiably so, they thought I had a bit of a mental problem because I'm sitting there watching these cars go around and around in circles. But from the time I was about 10 years old, I was fascinated by racing. Flash forward to, when I'm in high school, my then girlfriend, who became my wife, who's now my ex-wife, her family were drag racers. So they started, they kind of brought me into the family from like the first day we started dating. And, got to, that first summer, we'd only been dating a few months. Leanne and her mom went to Europe as we graduated high school, and I loaded into a Suburban with Dawn and Mark and our friend Steve, and we traveled down to Portland and to Seattle doing the Division 6 drag races with those guys. So, right from about 92 when I was graduating high school, I was really hooked. And then eventually it was, I was 35 years old before I ever got, or 34 before I ever got into a proper race vehicle.
That's what I'm saying. You're like one of those cats, like my buddy Mike, who's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm just gonna go for it. And then like to at the age of 35, you start getting a sense of your own mortality, right? Like you're like 35, 40. But like guys like you amaze me because you just throw caution to the wind. You're like, I'm getting in there. I don't care. I love it so much.
I should have sent you the video. I haven't had really too many near misses, but I think Locke's actually seen the video. I actually had a full brake failure.
Where you were flying off the track,
and go down our front straightaway here in Edmonton, and go to hit the brakes, and there's no brake. So my only instinct was to try and pitch the cart so I could hopefully slide sideways, and I basically barreled into the fence. It's the one day I didn't have my data acquisition, my little computer on the screen to know exactly how fast I was going, but the guess is about 80 kilometers an hour, and I went straight into a chain link fence. Now, fortunately, I'd been properly training. I was in moderately good shape because we don't have any form of retention in the car. We don't have seat belts. We don't have airbags or anything like that. So the only shock absorbers I had were my arms. Taking my, whatever you want to call it at the time, 200-pound, body, and decelerating it, my face actually touches the steering wheel just for an instant. But yeah, I mean, my neck was really sore and I was a little bit stiff, but that happened on a Wednesday night, and I was back in the cart on a Friday down in Calgary.
Just because you're like,
these things fly.
I know they do, but they got to be addictive. Like my friend Mike has a sickness for this stuff. Like I call it the sickness. It's like, he's like, dude, I'm sick for it. Like if I lost a limb tomorrow doing this, I would be trying to talk to as many orthopedic surgeons as to how fast they could get me back in one of these cars.
We bumped into, we did an interview this morning with one of the local radio stations, and the dude
Lochlin's?
said to me,
Lochlins?
No, he denied us. He told us not to do his radio show.
Oh, that is rude.
No. We had a scheduling conflict, so I was saying, let's try and get you on the podcast.
I didn't know that.
It was a different radio station. But okay. He said, the dude, Pete, he's got a 2-year-old daughter, and he said, hey, how soon can I start getting her into a cart? So, we can really start people around 5-6 years old. They won't really be racing, but you get out and you kind of teach them how to drive. And he said, hey, listen, if she's out racing, she won't have a drug problem. And I said, it'd be cheaper to buy her the drugs. Like, racing is so expensive. It's crazy because once you start, man, you just keep pouring money in. But it was kind of fun. But
maybe Pete shouldn't do so many drugs around his kids if he's worried about that.
Maybe. I mean, but that was me saying it. It wasn't Pete saying that. So, it's a lot of fun.
Trying to get the competition arrested by CAS. That's what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
No, I'm just being a dick.
We've got a great group. I mean, it's such a good family out at the racetrack. I had and it's a bullshit podium, but I finished on the podium. And one of our things on the weekend is everyone gives a speech, and everyone, kind of comes through and thanks everyone. And I wanted, and this is going to maybe sound a little insincere, but I meant it from the bottom of my heart, that instead of thanking sponsors or people I worked with, I wanted to thank everyone that was at the racetrack, aside from our, including our marshals and all the volunteers and all of our executive and things. But I wanted to make sure that, everyone at the track was thanked, because they're the ones that make, the competition is great and driving the carts is great, but it's all the hanging out that you do in between these sessions and the camaraderie you have. And, someone comes over and needs to borrow a thing and you help them out, or they help you with something. Like that's really what it's all about. I mean, it's such it's such a big family, and so many cool things happen. Just look forward to it. I mean, we're really excited. Again, we were filled with racing last weekend. So we were in Toronto on Friday for the Honda Indy. We drove 6 hours back to Montreal. Then we spent the weekend at Mount Tremblant for the Canadian Open, like the Eastern version of what our Western big races are out here. Just can't get enough. Like, 3 straight days of the track was great. For me, having to, fly out, fly back, do all this stuff. I mean, this is what I live for. But man, I really think it'd be cheaper if I had a drug addiction.
But dude, like you're describing culture, right? Like you're talking about that race culture and the people in the family. And again, that's what my buddy loves too. He's like, it's different. Like, when you get into the sport, there's so many people that put so much into this that your heart bleeds for them, maybe when they're missing a piece or they need a muffler or they might need this or they might need that or they're looking for a crest. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
whatever it is.
He's like, dude, we help everybody. Like, it's not, it's as competitive as we are when those cars start. We're like a huge family. He loves the barbecues. He loves everything that surrounds it, right? Which is really the kind of the whole idea. You must have missed it like over the pandemic. I know it was a shortened season and stuff like that. But what you're talking about is this culture for this hobby that you take very seriously, which is also a business as well. And it was affected greatly by like everything else was. But you can see it when you're talking to you, and you can see it in these pictures. Like this picture, you sent a ton of them. This is one of my favorite ones. I don't know. Is this your kid that you're trying to give 5 to, or is this just another kid?
No, that kid is the son of the driver that's actually immediately behind me. And, he was kind of yelling at his dad, but his dad couldn't hear him because he had his helmet on. So, I heard mom say, well, why don't you give this guy a high five? So, yeah, we spent a bit of time with these guys over the weekend. So that was a lot of fun. I mean, I couldn't reach any further, but again, thanks to Cody for capturing such a great thing. But, getting back to that, loaning something to someone at the track or whatever, we're absolutely in competition. And once the helmets go on, it's vicious. Like the things that we do to each other on the track is. Are
you a dick driver? Are you one of the, are you overly competitive? Are you one of those guys that like, I'll cut anybody off, I don't care who it is? Are you like who's the dude that does it in F1? Makes me laugh every time he does it. What's
Verstappen.
Verstappen, Max Verstappen. Yeah. Are you Verstappen or are you Hamilton? Who would you?
Honestly, that's a question to ask my competitors. But I think I'm a pretty clean driver. I've made contact with people. It's inevitable if you're going to race. At some point, you're going to make contact with someone. Now, in almost all cases, nobody's going to be happy to get hit. But as long as you go over and apologize, people don't take it too seriously. They don't get too upset. It's when you go and if you have to go and talk to someone who hit you, then things tend to get really bad. But no matter how dysfunctional it gets, you want to beat people on the track. You don't want to beat somebody because they didn't have a tire. You don't want to beat somebody because they didn't have a bolt to put their thing on. Like you don't want to beat them in the paddock. You want to beat them on the racetrack. So it's always, it's very, very strong. Like we have unbelievably good drivers out here in the West. We've sent just in our one class, we've sent 5 drivers to the grand finals over the last couple of years. So we've got just amazing drivers. They humble me crazily. I mean, I used to be okay, but the last couple of years, I mean, age is catching up, and I still run a business and have a lot of outside interests, but I still just love being at the track, and whether I win or not, I don't care. It's really cool that I can help now with our our Kart supply business to help get a few people up and running. But yeah, that's what it's. I mean, it's just such a it's such an awesome community that way more than the racing or the the wins, the losses. I mean, it's all about getting to hang out with really great people. And I think I can hear Alex over here. He might be waiting for a break, but I don't think we'll stop too long to have a pause. So
I will say this: I've driven in a car with Colin. He's a complete dick driver.
Yeah, like on the road. Does it translate? Yeah. That's my question. Like, because my buddy Mike isn't.
I like how he's trying to make himself sound like he's like this. It
this translates. Same thing. My buddy Mike. Same thing. You can't. His wife refuses to drive anywhere with him behind the wheel because he's a race car driver. Same thing. You're the same. Yeah. You're a dick driver in real life.
I like how we started this whole thing by showing all the clubs that Colin broke, and then him trying to tell everybody that he's like a really reasonable guy on the track.
Yeah, lying causes baldness, right, Locke?
Can I, before we get to Alex, can I ask you a question? CanTorque. CanTorque is one of the sponsors of the of Team 22, which is your racing team. You guys have a few karts in it, but CanTorque's an interesting company because you and I were having a conversation the other day, and we were talking about ethical business, like what Canadians don't do, and it blew my mind that you actually, over the past several years, have made a concerted effort. As manufacturing, you ship manufacturing elsewhere because it's so much cheaper and you can get it built all this. You literally took that business and you said, no, let's bring it all home. Let's bring it all home to Canada. Let's bring it all home to Canadians. So tell me, what is CanTorque? Because I can see some of your beauty product in the back. I know what it is, but just kind of explain it to people. And tell us what you did that not many Canadian companies do. Not many Canadian companies go, you know what? This is a Canadian company. We're going to use this Canadian company to support Canadian workers. And I love that part.
Yeah. So, from the first time I started the company in the year 2000, we worked as a distributor, meaning we were buying and selling other people's products, and we were factory representatives for one particular brand. That relationship, soured, for a number of reasons. We then got connected with an overseas company who had started manufacturing tools, like their own versions of these tools. Asked us to partner with the carrot that they gave us was that they were going to put our name on it. So all of a sudden, we were able to start selling a tool that said CanTorque on it. Worked really well in the beginning, but the quality of those tools rapidly declined. We had lots of problems, and the side effect of that was that now it was my problem because it had my name on the side of the tool. Even though we weren't actually manufacturing it, the customer didn't care. We made an intermediate step to a company that was based in Turkey. They had already started down the road for another company and got, essentially they got screwed over by the guys that initiated the manufacturing process because they weren't able to pay for their products. But, again, this is a very, very shortened version, but once we got connected with our partners here in Edmonton, a company called Alberta Production Machining, and we're able to, just meet face to face, we were able to, sit down at a table just like this and say, here's what we need. What do you think you can do? We were really off to the races, again, pardon the pun. But we were able to, repatriate all of our manufacturing, which, in a lot of cases, we're able to manufacture at the same pricing level here, but without the freight, without the customs, without the brokerage, without the language barrier, without any of the nonsense, without me having to make 4 trips to Europe or to Asia or to wherever. And now I can take my time and make these trips around the world to start selling. So it's been fantastic for us, again, having a really good partner, being able to utilize the expertise that we have here in Edmonton and in Alberta and, really all across Canada. I mean, we have consultants that we rely on, metallurgists, and we have engineers, and we have, product specialists all over the country that we can rely on and take, this amazing production capacity that we have here in Canada and use it to our advantage. I mean, I think people really, at least my impression is that, Canadians really kind of look at ourselves kind of as like a secondary country, a third, we're proud to be Canadian, but we think that things are made everywhere else. Cars come from somewhere else, TVs come from somewhere else, computers come from somewhere else. We don't really kind of, look at ourselves as creators, but, I'm here to tell you, not like us, we're like a fart in a windstorm. We're insignificant compared to some of the manufacturing that happens here. But, we have so many brilliant people that, we really need to start focusing on trying to manufacture as much as we can here in Canada, because we have the ability to do it instead of, sending that money to the States or to Europe or to wherever, we can really support ourselves.
Yeah, and not just supporting the people in the community, but you're supporting the country as a whole, and I think it's one of those things. I'm not like it's funny because you can get into that nationalist conversation where you're like, oh, you're a nationalist. I'm like, no, I'm like that's a terrible word that a lot of people like to use. I don't really like to use it, but it's a functional, but it's a conscience thing, right? Like it's your conscience that says, nah, bring it back here. I want to have control of it. And I know Canadians do great work, and I want to contribute to the economy in a real positive way. So it's a double-edged sword. More people need to do it. What do you do at CanTorque? Like tooling solutions for all kinds of things where there really aren't a lot of tooling solutions, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we have just a crazy amount of competition around the world, and as an upstart and like one of the newest manufacturers, I mean, we've got our work cut out for us. There are some really good manufacturers in the world. I'm not here to say that we're the best, and we are definitely not the biggest, but we produce tools to tighten and loosen industrial fasteners. So we make these hydraulic powered tools in kind of two different versions that can tighten as low as about 50 foot-pounds right up to 60,000 foot-pounds. We can work on, Locke's been to the shop. He's seen some of the stuff. I mean, we have sockets on hand that are like 9.25 inches, like great big mother effing, things. Basically,
it's a really cool shop.
Yeah. If anyone, if people need to tighten or loosen something, we've got a solution. Even if we don't have it, we can tell you where to get it. I mean, one of the great things about a Canadian company,
or you make it. That's the other thing. You're
yes,
half
absolutely.
the time I talk to you, you're in the middle of developing some sort of a tool for a project that's happening that doesn't exist. So you guys are sitting down with your, pen and paper, and you're drafting out a tool and you're making it for them. And that's one of your projects. You're probably in the middle of something right now where you're trying to create something.
We're always trying to learn from our mistakes. Right now the one version of our tool, I've probably, I won't say I redesigned it, but we've changed it probably 10 times over the last 5 years, like 2 revisions every year for 5 years. And I mean, I'm getting close to being finished with the revisions of this thing because everything now needs to go into new tools and we just need to stop what we're doing. But we're not really good at bragging about ourselves in Canada. I mean, I which I kind of appreciate because we're way more humble and a little bit more centered on what other people need versus, being, really arrogant or really cocky and saying, well, we're the best or the biggest or the oldest or whatever the hell it is. But again, our business really surrounds, it revolves around our customers and what they need. So if they need a certain kind of thing, we can't just say to them, well, no, we don't have that thing. We need to try and make it, but it also has to be, economically viable. We can't go and spend $60,000 in engineering development to sell a tool for 10 grand. That's, the government can maybe do that, but we can't. But no, it's been really good. And, having Alex on board as an ambassador really opens up a lot of doors for us. They see us on his suit or they see us on his helmet or they see us on the car. So there's a little bit of familiarity before we even walk in. They're like, oh, we know you guys and we've seen you out there. They don't really know where or why, but we're a really small company with only 6 employees, but we have this perception of being a lot bigger.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's a great business, dude, and you've done some good work, but here's the question. I don't know if it's possible. Can you make a tool that is capable of loosening Lochlin Cross's wallet? Yes or no?
Nope.
Perfect. So
nope.
There's one solution you don't have that no one else has. His
Working
wife hasn't.
I haven't. Backroom
Nobody
activity.
has. His friends haven't.
I don't want to say how many times we've gone out together because that will throw more fuel on my temper issues and all the rest of it. But Locke said something to me a long time ago, and he likes to chuck me under the bus a little bit. So prepare for the tires here, bud. But
yeah, that's
he's
good.
like. I said something to him about, the 4th or 5th time we went out. I'm like, do you ever are you ever going to take care of a bill? He says, dude, I'm in fucking radio. I don't pay bills.
I know.
I
right?
didn't say that.
Yes, he did. Yes,
I do recall making fun of Colin.
Yeah, I can tell you where we were, and I can tell you when it was. And it was in
Can I ask you? Look, dude, hang him out to fucking dry. So here's the thing. Is he, when you go, how many times have you been out with him? Seriously.
I can't count. Many.
Let's say 15, 20, 30 maybe. Sure. Lots. Yep. Let's settle on 20, just a nice round number. How many times has he gone, hang on, Colin, I'll get this bill?
Okay, how many times? Not true. I've done it at least once.
I don't believe you at all. I don't believe you. 0. Not 1. Yeah. I knew it. I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. You should have seen him when he was in Toronto for the Jays game. My friend Linz and I, who's here, he's just hanging out in the back room. My friend Linz and I, he was like, hey, you want to go get a couple beers? We're like, sure, we'd go get some beers. There's Linz. There's my buddy Colin Livingstone from CanTorque, and of course, Team 22, Tagliani Racing. But we bought beers all night, and he went and bought one thing for everybody. And you know what it was? And this is fucking great.
Hot dogs.
He bought 10 hot dogs, but it was loony hot dog night.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
All he had to do was
$1 glizzies.
Fucking.
I was.
That doesn't sound like me at all.
We're like, it's like beers at the Sky Dome. $30 for a beer. I was like, we'll have 4 beers. It's like $120. And Locke's like, great, guys, I'll get the hot dogs. I look at Lynn's, I'm like, they're $1 tonight.
I was expecting like one large bag of popcorn for everyone to share. Like that would be another Locke move.
Do you
Okay,
remember?
but
Do
does he
you remember who
expect
did?
you- Go ahead.
Do you remember who
Lynn's.
did the forensic audit on the dinner bill as well while we were sitting at
him.
the table?
Him. So we go out to a dinner. Beautiful place, Barbarian Steakhouse, best steakhouse in the city. We're sitting there. They bring me the bill, right? And it's like, I'll just tell you how much it was. It was like $1,000, and I'm like, boom, I'll just pay for it because you know why I did it? It's because Lochlin takes his glasses.
$41 out.
Lochlin takes his glasses and he goes like this. I need to go through this line by line. And Karima was with us. Everybody's with. They're throwing in hundreds of dollars. Everybody's transferring me money, Lochlin, to the dollar, and to the item was like, this is all I'm paying for. Then we go to the Sky Dome. We buy 50,000 beers for $15 a piece, and he's like, guys, I got the hot dogs. The great news, it was Looney hot dog day.
How
Tuesdays, I love Tuesdays.
it's almost almost charming the way he does it though, because he's so forward about not paying for things.
You
got this.
Shit. This
He'll
is
just tell
such
you.
bullshit.
No, it's
all
not.
of you.
Colin, is it
All
true?
of you
Like he'll just
lying
tell
your
you.
ass
He
off.
straight up tells you he's not getting the bill, doesn't he?
We've gone golfing, and I belong to a nice private course here in Edmonton. I don't remember that ever being reciprocated. We've gone to casual rounds of golf. Everyone either pays their own way or somebody will cover everything. But I'll give Locke credit. The one time we went out to Trestle Creek, he picked me up so I didn't have to drive. So there is that.
Wow.
I do remember another time, Colin. I don't know if he's recovered from this, but he had a situation where he was eating meat and he realized that the meat was causing some issues with some inflammation. So he was on this strict vegetarian diet. And so I spent the entire lunch making fun of his new veggie diet.
That's true.
Because he
right.
couldn't eat meat.
I
had the biggest meat sandwich I could find on the menu just to rub
That
it in.
Colin paid for.
Yeah, I'm starting to get a real picture here. So not only was he a client of yours at the radio station, not only did he say, I'm not going to interview you this morning, but he never picks up the bill like fucking ever. And when you do go out, he makes fun of your health conditions. That's not a friend.
Bingo.
That's not a friend.
Bingo.
That's a real
And
friend.
then if you want to really like once in a while, so he has brought alcohol here before though. So he'll stop by and like, hey, listen, I got bring in the beer.
Drink 6, drink 8, take the empties.
But he brings over like the little keg that the radio station had made that he had like promo give him. Or it comes in and it's like, here's 6 beers or like, cheap ass Pilsners or like, yeah, these were on special. It was like $6 for 12. Here's what we're drinking today. Like great. Like I've got the good stuff in my fridge. I've got, top end stuff. And I mean,
Dude,
that's what
all lies.
When he was here, I got such a glimpse into like every friendship he had, and I was like, I love the man. Like he does it great on me. I think he's hilarious. Like, and as Lynn says, he's totally upfront about how much of a cheap prick he is, which is why I asked if he made any loosener at CanTorque that could get him to open up his fucking wallet. And then when I asked you and I saw your eyes light up, I'm like, here we go.
Game on.
Glimpse into the cheapness.
And that's the beauty of this format over conventional radio is we don't really have to worry about what we say. So now it's Truth Thursday.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I don't know if you know all the stories, but we have had our share of issues with things that have been said on this. One, we can't tell anybody where Dean lives.
Wait, what's this?
He gets an occasional visit from the RCMP based on the things that get said.
They just
There's
give me
a couple
heads
of issues. That's all.
Hey,
but we're
some people are
definitely
looking
afraid
for
of letting people know where Dean actually lives. And the guy that lives in Dean's last house had to move.
Yeah.
Oh boy. That's kind of I mean, that's funny timing because we did a little media tour this morning and then ended up going out for breakfast downtown. And we're sitting there at the restaurant, and I make quips. I say things, and sometimes people either misinterpret or they mishear what I say. So we're sitting down.
That's what I tell people too every time I'm offensive. You misheard.
Well, this was innocent enough. So I'm getting ready to order the all meat omelet at the restaurant, and
you're back on the meat. Yeah, good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
Temporary.
she said something about, I don't think I have sugar. I said, I hope you have meat. She's like, are you saying I have a lot of meat on me? I'm like, no. So, end up ordering this thing. I have to kind of backpedal, even though I didn't say anything all that bad. We have our breakfast. We need to rush to get out of the place. And so I actually had to leave. I left Alex and our, photographer friend Sam behind. They're going to clean up the bill. So somebody else actually paid Loch. And then I go meet, my girlfriend goes to pick me up. I'm giving Alex my car so he can go to his personal appearance. And he says, as I'm in the car with Amanda, he says, I got to tell you this, and it's bad news. I'm like, what do you mean it's bad news? I'm like, uh-oh. He's like, hey, that waitress really thought you were cute. She said she loves sushi. And I said, oh, my friend knows the best sushi restaurant in town. He'll take you out. Handed out my phone number to the waitress at the restaurant and told my girlfriend that this was happening. So, yeah, I can understand the need for privacy from time to time.
You're just a nice guy is what you are. Is Alex there yet? Or is he just kind of hanging around? Did he split?
He is here. I don't know what's going on with him. I think he maybe had to make a little pit stop. A race car driver has to, get a pit stop done.
Go pee. Yeah.
I think he's here.
Dude, so we got time for more sewering Loch stories then.
Yeah.
Good.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we, I'm good. I'm happy to talk to him. He's there, but I really enjoyed having you. I want to have you back on the podcast for telling some Lochlin stories. But listen, I want everybody to support this group. Your racing team, Alex Tagliani Racing. If you Google Alex Tagliani, you'll be able to have a look at his racing team. Where can we send people to not only interact with your team? Because listen, Alex is a legendary race car driver in this country. He really is. Him and Patrick Carpentier, I've interviewed them several times. Like two of the nicest human beings you've ever seen in your life. And Alex looks exactly the same. He's one of the most bubbly guys in the world. If we missed him, I apologize. And I know we've got a bunch of stuff to get to, and you probably do as well. But that's okay. That's totally fine. We're happy to have Alex on anytime he wants. But where do people go to kind of consume, follow you guys, follow you and Alex, and follow your team, and how can people kind of support it?
Yeah, easiest way to follow Alex is through his socials, which is basically at Tagliani18. He's got this new venture in Montreal right now, Tag E-Karting. So he built an indoor entertainment complex that's, features a 3-floor go-kart track, axe throwing, bowling. It's got this great bar, virtual reality games, the whole Megillah, banquet or conference rooms and all that. So you can look up Taggy Karting. My stuff, basically at CanTorque for all of my corporate stuff, at CL_87 for my personal stuff. No, this has been a lot of fun. Really appreciate it. Sorry that we missed
tags.
I'm sure he's in the building. I just don't know where to find him.
It's okay, dude.
I mean, frankly, he's a little guy. He could be here, and I just don't see him. I think he's maybe under the table. I don't know.
He is. He's tiny. He's a cute little fellow, though. But please wish him all the best. And no, he is. He's just a cute little guy. He's like running around. He's like, "Hey guys, how you doing?" He's like one of the nicest people.
Wife's a smoke show too.
Oh, I've never
just gorgeous, nicest woman on the planet as well. Oh my God, they're so nice. I've interviewed Tag and Colin a couple of times, and then his wife showed up once. I'm like, why are you bringing Tags around? Bring her.
No, I mean, Bronte, as a former, she's still Australian, but as a former, bikini model, obviously she's not hard to look at, but she's 10 times nicer than she is attractive. I can promise you that.
Yeah, she's
How does
beautiful
Alex
person.
look in a bikini? Good. Does he? He strikes me as a Speedo guy.
Yeah.
Just commando. Yeah, I mean, you learn certain things when the thing is, like in NASCAR, we're way lower budget, way lower key than even Champ Car, IndyCar, things like that. Like our hauler is wide open. So where our car is, it's the only place we have to change. So, as Alex is changing from street clothes to race clothes, I'm usually standing within fairly close proximity because we're talking about what we're going to do during the race, what our plan is, what's going on. You learn a few things. So
You've seen it. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, free balling,
no. And I think a lot of men, a lot of French speaking men they don't believe in underwear. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, you need something when you're in the race car, though. But other than that, just let her go.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this, Colin. CanTorque, name of the company. Google CanTorque. You follow them on Twitter, CanTorque as well. Here's the logo if you need to know how to spell it, CanTorque. And really appreciate you being here, brother. Thank you so much. Great to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks a lot, guys. It was a lot of fun.
We'll talk to you soon. Colin Livingstone.
Get out again soon.
Yeah.
Anytime, man. Let me get some clubs rebuilt first.
Yeah, and tell him, say,
bring your wallet.
You're gonna have to. Yeah, I'm not paying for you this time. That's all you got to say to him. I'm not paying.
Oh, he'll. I know where we'll go. He's got a couple connections at some courses with comp. So.
Oh, really? So if he does take you, he's still not out of pocket. Shocker.
Oh.
Thanks, buddy. Great to see you.
Anytime, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, man. Colin Livingstone, race car driver.
None of that was true.
It's all fucking true, dude. All of it.
We saw it. We saw it happen.
We saw it in action. We saw you cheaply, and you were so proud. Like we'd all each spent $3,000 on beer that night, and out of nowhere, Lock comes.
Drink.
Well, I don't even drink. Yeah,
no,
I'm
that's
buying
the best.
everybody beers. And it's like, guys, he's so proud, Linz.
I would like to say I covered
guys,
my
credit card statement from that night.
That $1,000 bill. I chewed on my end on that.
You sure did. I'll never forget it. It was. Can I see that for a second? And this is a nice restaurant.
Listen, you have no idea where I come from. When someone drops off $1,000 bill, I'm gonna need to see it.
Yeah. It was something because everybody else in the restaurant heard it too, and there's Locke with his glasses.
So we're at Barbarian Steakhouse, downtown Toronto.
Great,
if you haven't been.
Fucking steak.
It is the best steak in the city. It's the best steak in the country, bar none. There is no other steak. Barbarian.
It's one of the oldest ones too, isn't it?
Yeah, it used to be a flop house as well back in like the 40s and the 50s. So you could be eating in a private room where there was a lot of sex. You'd never know. The history of mobsters, like the wood panel walling. They've got like the most wine. They get the best wine cellar. And even though I don't drink, it's just like an incredible place to go for steak and wine. It's a fucking unbelievable place. And they do it right every single time. And every server there looks like he's out of Goodfellas, like every single server. So our server, lovely fella, his name was Pete, nice guy. Yep. Known these, like I've been there lots. Some friends of mine actually have their names like engraved on chairs there. That's how much I used to go there. But it's the best steak in town, without question. And I know these guys and they're my friends. So they're sitting down. My buddies, they're nice to us, obviously. Give us a nice table, great service, which they always do. It doesn't need to be me. And they bring the bill. Bill's $1,000. I'm like, okay, guys, there's a bill. I didn't even look at it. And I started watching people look at the bill, and then I saw Lochlin take the bill and go like this. His glasses.
Yes.
And then he's like, hang on a second. And he takes the bill and he puts it up. And then he takes out his phone like he's 77. And he's out with the fellas at a Tim Hortons, and he doesn't know if he should pay for the other guy's cruller. This is the nicest steakhouse in Toronto. And we're getting ready to go to a Jays game, right? So we're like, and Lou.
The Uber's waiting.
By the way, I was
bang,
too.
Bang, drinks. Like he had by far the most cocktails that evening. By far.
Yeah.
And he's like, hang on, I don't think this is right. And he starts going through it line by line.
I did not do that.
And this, dude, yes, you did. And this lasted, and I shit you not, for 10 minutes straight. And the server was standing there. And
politely.
I go, you know what? Take my card. I'll pay for all of it. You guys can just figure it out and e-transfer. Just pay me later. Yeah. And that's when Locke was like this. Yeah, it totally fucking happened. I'm not lying.
And then I transferred you $42.
From the like we all got in the Uber that had been sitting outside for 10 minutes that Karima was generous enough to spring for.
Yeah,
and there's Locke.
I gave her money too because I'm like, there's no way.
Insulting the Uber driver as well.
Hold on.
Shit all over the Uber driver because he was hammered. And then we get to the Jays game. Well, here's the thing. Then we get to the Jays game. Not only did he cheap out and act like a 79-year-old on a fucking cruise, at the nicest
And a
steakhouse in
fixed
Toronto.
income.
Then we get on a fixed income. And he's like, hang on a second, this doesn't look right. My part is $300. Yeah, you had 400 drinks with that steak, dude. And then we get to the Jays game, and we're walking in, and I said to Chris, I'm like, hey, do you want me to get a round of beers? He goes, I want to see if Lochlin does it first. Not only did he not do it first, it was almost like time for another round of beers. And then Locke started arguing and fighting with New York Yankees fans. Started an entire fight in our fucking section, and just kept drinking free beers. And then he was like,
upset
guys,
at me about the Yankee fan thing?
Not me. I thought it was
okay.
fucking hilarious.
Thank you. It deserved it.
No, I didn't have an issue with that. I don't even have an issue. He's got a 3.2
My rating is
Uber
higher.
rating.
I'm just
so then
below
he goes.
4.
Then
Just
we go to
below
the
4.
Jays game. We're at the Jays game after the fight. I'm out like $5,000 at this point. Lynn's is out a couple grand. Chris is out a couple grand. Locke's out nothing, not a dime.
$42.
And he goes, guys, I'm gonna go get a bunch of hot dogs for us. And I'm like, I look at Lynn, I'm like, isn't it loony hot dog night? And he's like, yeah, don't say anything. I go, all right, because this is the first time we met you. I'm like, I don't want to piss the guy off. So I'm glad we're doing this, just knowing that this is your thing and you're awfully proud of how cheap you are. It's the best.
It is pretty cool.
By the way, all I did in the Uber was I asked if there was any sporting events happening that night. Because there was a hockey game and a Jays game, and the streets were packed.
Okay,
and I just looked over at him, and I went, hey, is there some
Yeah.
kind of a sporting event? Because I thought that was funny, and no one else did. And then the Uber driver tried to explain what was happening in downtown Toronto to me, which I found even more entertaining.
Well, I know. And then you started asking him where he was from, which is like, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. That's like, it's like the one
Aren't
thing.
you curious?
No,
Alberta's
it's the
here.
Alberta is in the house. This dude comes from Alberta, and he's like, gets in the Uber, hammered after criticizing
Front
us.
seat. I always get
Front
in the
seat,
front
too.
seat.
I know. You may be as tall as me, but I'm a little wider. So normally hey, Ryan,
I'm
you want
jammed
I
in the
always
back. I'm
get in the
6'3",
front seat. That
240.
way I
I'm
can mess
jammed
with
in
the radio.
And out of nowhere, it's all quiet in there, right? Because everybody's full. We just walked out. We're in disbelief. Lochlin had to get a monocle out and a fucking calculator to look at the bill. Because like, who does that anymore? It's the only shit I see on television. Get your tip calculator, Florence. Yeah. And so anyway, he's a tip calculator. And then he gets in a cab in Toronto. If you've been in a cab in Toronto, you know exactly what this means. Hey, he says to the guy, and I quote, he's like this, hey, where are you from?
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, you were lucky. You got the third row. You and Chris were in the way back. I'm jammed with Karima, her cameraman, and myself in the middle row. And Lochlin, and if you can hear him on this show, he doesn't have a speaking voice. He has a Lochlin voice. And it does literally this far away from the guy beside him. And he's, where are you from? And he's driving in rush hour downtown Toronto. You can see his head doing this as he's trying to focus on the road and not kill us.
Do you remember what the guy said too? Do you remember this? I remember dying laughing in the back of the cab. So he's like,
I was
he looks
melting.
at the cab driver and he's like, "Where are you from?" And the guy's like, "Mississauga."
Mississauga.
And Locke's like, "Originally." I'm like, "Oh fuck, dude!
You guys are
you
so
were out.
full
He
of
gave you
shit.
an out when you were like." When he's like, where you go? Where are you from? And he's like, Mississauga. And I'm like, Stooped. That's an off ramp for you. You should just shut up. And you're like, no. Originally,
We're staying on this highway.
There was a story about there was a story out about if your rating was below a certain point in Uber, you weren't allowed to. They wouldn't pick you up anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm
That's
back
you.
on cabs.
Are you fucking serious?
Yes. Here's the thing that pisses me off about that because
Here we
I'm
go.
just trying to be conversational.
It's their fault. It's their fault.
Yes, it is because I'm just trying to be conversational, right?
Yeah.
And I get in the most times I'm in an Uber, I'm usually pretty lit up, right? And I can be an aggressive personality. I understand that maybe just maybe there's a chance that I might offend somebody or I might be too much for somebody and I'm not going to get a really good rating from an Uber driver, right? Okay. But Jimmy has like a 4.99. Okay, and at least
he's a little
one out of
person and he's
five
super kind.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
There's more to that story.
All right.
At least 1 out of 5 times he gets in an Uber, he shits himself or passes out or loses something and then needs to spend 2 days trying to track down the element that he lost in his vehicle. Okay, so how does a little person who shits himself have a higher rating than me? I've never crapped my pants in an Uber.
I can answer that.
Throwing up.
I can answer that. You're an egregious asshole when you get in those cars. That's the answer.
And it's
Chris sent a comment. This is in our comment section from the Fire for Effect podcast. He takes cabs with you all the time. You know him.
Yeah.
Chris. Army Chris.
No, Army Chris
Legit,
is usually I'm always going home before Army Chris. He's usually putting me in.
They would not pick him up at the bar during the Grey Cup. And I had to find him a cab and convince the guy to take him home. That's what he said.
I didn't know there was like a below threshold. I thought they just sent you a shitty Uber driver. I thought they matched the ratings with the Uber driver.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
this guy's a 3.8. Send him a 3.8.
This guy's killed a few people. He smells funny. This driver. We're going to send him for lots.
I don't know why, but we were day drinking, and it was like 4:00 in the afternoon. And
I know why. Because you fucking love drinking. That's why. I don't know why we were day drinking.
I don't know why. It was a Wednesday.
Yeah. We get out of the Black Dog pub. We were on the patio. It was in the middle of summer. Beautiful weather. It was a couple years ago. This was before COVID. And Army Chris, Grant, Jimmy, and we pile into an Uber. And I get in. I got in the back because I had my eyes on him, and I was sitting on the outside. I think Grant was up front, and I think Army Chris was beside me, and Jimmy was getting in. Now Jimmy does everything slower than every other human being on the planet, and he has a bit of an excuse. He's only 4 feet tall, right? So he just moves a little bit slower. And we got in, and we are like, okay, so it's me. I'm aggressive. But add our show to it, and then add Army Chris, and it's fucking chaos. We pile out of the bar. We pile in this Uber, this poor fucking Uber driver, and he starts to leave, and I realize that Jimmy isn't in yet. And Jimmy is hanging onto the door and the seat, and he's running beside the Uber driver while he's pulling out. And I was like, I should be telling him to stop, but I can't stop laughing. And he starts grabbing gears, and Jimmy is trying to keep up, and he keeps going faster, and then finally he loses it, but he doesn't let go of the door, and he's being dragged.
He's dragging a little
This is a true story. I see a shoe go flying.
No way.
He lost it. Finally, Jimmy goes, "You fuckers! Stop! Tell him to stop!"
Like, how many times was he looking at you and making eye contact? Like, guys, you gonna say something?
The whole time
I'm such a visual person. I just see it.
Yeah, you can
I
see
just
it.
see you dragging this little person around,
So
watching
anyway,
his shoe go fly and telling you to stop the Uber.
The Uber
Look of
driver
horror
finally,
on his face.
The Uber driver finally turns around and looks and sees Jimmy's hanging onto the door of his Toyota Corolla. He pounds the brakes on. I get out. I walk back about 100 feet to grab his shoe. All this is right downtown Edmonton.
You know how you see those shoes in the road when you're driving? You're like, how the fuck does that one shoe in the middle of the highway? That's how. That's the answer.
You imagine being downtown and just
mad.
seeing this, like from an outsider perspective, standing on the street, watching a car go by with a midget just hanging off of a door, and a bunch of assholes inside laughing at.
Stop the car.
Well, the best part was Army Chris went, "We're going to give you a 5. Don't worry," because the Uber driver was so tormented. He was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry."
Yeah,
He dragged a midget for a block and a half. And his best friends in the world didn't stop.
I have no idea why Jimmy's family hates you. I have no idea at all.
I do. I totally know why.
The
And
first
it barely
part,
has
though, where he
anything
was
to do
running,
with this.
Where he was running and trying to keep up was the best. The dragging was funny, but when he was running,
Well, it's because his legs are so little, right? They're so funny when you watch a little person run. I'm sorry. I'm not being rude or mean, but I mean, just the visual of seeing a little person doing that would be out of control funny. I wouldn't be able to stop laughing. Holy shit.
Oh my god.
Oh, what a
I
great
haven't
laugh
told that
was.
story in a long time.
Oh. Chris was
shit.
saying, Chris, dude, Army Chris is like, you can't make this shit up. He's like, it totally fucking happened. All those stories are 100% real. Ryan Lindley, what do you got? Perfect 5-star rating on the
5
Ubs?
stars,
Of course you
baby.
do.
Yeah. What do you got? Are you below 4?
Lock?
You are, aren't you?
I think I've made it up above 4 recently. I think I might have worked my way into a 4.1 or 4.2.
Is there a reason you just can't shut up? Like, is there a reason, like, when you get in these cars, you don't go? Because I saw it, and I'm like,
Have you watched this show?
his life would be so much easier. Yeah, I've listened to a show, watched a show. I'm like, his life would be so much easier.
I'm well aware of the damage I do to my own reputation.
It's amazing, too, because we started this podcast, Linz, and I'm like, hey, the Pope's coming to town. What kind of joke is that? He's like, hey, relax on the religion. And I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, have you seen you in a cab? Like, have you seen
No,
you out in
hold
public?
on. You brought up the Pope's visit to Edmonton and then started talking about Grindr.
Well,
That's
it's
not
true.
on me.
It makes
No,
sense.
it's true, dude. Like, Pope is coming to Edmonton this weekend. All the Catholic priests are coming to town.
Got
I
your
don't know if
ticket?
you've read some stories about Catholic priests over the past 30, 40 years, but there's
Well,
an
hold on, they
inordinate
all-
amount of
all
them
priests
that go
follow
looking
too.
for some sex in terrible places because they're not allowed to have any because the Catholic faith is a joke. So sorry. if
Couple
I'm
of
upsetting you.
couple of instances of buggery.
Yeah, a couple of instances like altar boys come to mind, Nambla
Yeah.
comes to mind. But my theory is this, and I'm sticking to it. And I was laughing about it this morning, even though I shouldn't be. Because I have zero regard for any organized man-made religion whatsoever, as everybody knows. And he's coming here. The Pope is coming here to go. You know how we killed a whole bunch of Indigenous people over the past 400? Our bad.
Here's some money and an apology.
Eesh, sorry about that.
if
That's what he's
they-
doing. And
if
what
they
I'm
go
saying,
to pocket, I would be shocked.
Well, you know
that'd
what's
be
funny?
nice.
Aren't they having like a concert where they're actually charging money for like admission?
No,
Could
that
you
was a
imagine coming
joke.
here
That
on
was
like
a joke.
bad faith? Well,
We
no,
were
I think
talking
that's
about Judas Priest opening up Pope Fest. That was we were kidding, Ryan.
no. I thought they were actually doing something, like some sort of an event where like you can show up and
I don't know.
get VIP tickets and
I don't
I don't know, touch the Pope's stupid hat and shit like
Yeah,
that.
I said
yeah,
to
like an
Jimmy, I
on the
said
field
tomorrow-
experience in the
Yeah.
CFL,
We were-
where you get to play a couple of downs.
We were
yeah.
talking about speaking of Jimmy, we're gonna do Pastor Jimmy confessions tomorrow, so you can
Nice.
phone and confess your sins to Jimmy.
It's
will.
priest
And
Jimmy. It can't be
I'm in.
pastor. If it's Catholic, you got to be priest. There's no pastor.
But Pastor
in the Catholic
Jimmy's our
It's
ongoing
Father
bit.
Jimmy as Catholics. It's
Father Jimmy.
Father Jimmy.
And
Yeah.
I said to him, I said, "Can you wear a priest outfit tomorrow?"
The answer
Which
better
I
been
think
yes.
might be offensive.
Do you know what I would do if I was in Edmonton? I would go to like a costume shop, get some kind of clergy outfit, and I would just get fucking wasted and go down to that thing. I
No
would totally
shit.
I would just get shit canned and walk around grabbing ass. And I'd be like, how you doing, everybody? Nice to see you. Catholic rules. Yay. God lets me do
You
whatever
got to
I
get
want.
the big Pope hat though, too, right?
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
I
just
would
do
mock
all
the whole
white.
thing. That's the kind of guy I am. You know where you've got like a modicum of respect for it? I got none. I would go in there dressed like a
No,
full-on
I'm just
Catholic
concerned
creeper.
that I'm going to offend people unintentionally because of my lack of understanding of the whole thing. That's my concern.
It's
What do you
always
need- okay,
intentional.
So what do you need to understand?
Well,
Pope's
I
coming to
just
town.
like, is it offensive if we're on the air tomorrow taking people's confessions?
No, not at all.
It isn't? Okay.
No.
Well, then that's good.
No.
Well, who's
What
gonna
if
who's gonna
Jimmy's
get
dressed
upset
up
with
like
you?
the Pope?
That's their dude. The guy. You know how many people get dressed up like clergy for Halloween? Tons. What's the
Okay.
difference if
Yeah.
you do it
All right.
in August, in October, or if you
See,
do
I
it in
don't know.
July? No big deal. Yeah.
Nothing offends me. So, and I see other people get offended all the time, and I'm always shocked at what people get offended by. So I'm always concerned
Dude, the
that we're going
leader-
to get in trouble. The religion one bothers me because I don't understand. Sometimes when we talk about religion, I don't know the inside jokes, or I don't know what I'm saying. because I know nothing about it. So when we step over the line, quite often I'm shocked that somebody was offended. And what ends up happening with our show is that a guy will get in with a new girlfriend, hey, have you heard these guys? And then she's listening to the show, and then she hears something we say. She's never listened to us before, and then she's wildly offended and then writes a letter. Right. So and then I'm in a boss's office for a meeting after.
Can I can I just make a statement just real quick? It might be a question. It could be a statement. The head of the Catholic religion, which murdered and raped a couple 100,000 native people over the past 400 years, is coming to town. I'm cracking jokes about how fucking evil that whole thing is and how I'd like to go dressed up like Psycho
Your
Pope.
comments on religion are very surprising to me on a very regular basis.
Well, you're welcome. And the other thing is that you're upset you're going to offend a guy coming to town for saying sorry for all the rape and
not
the murder.
Offend. No, people that listen.
Sorry about that.
Have religious beliefs that I don't understand.
Well, they should be able to separate their religious beliefs from the fella in the organization that okayed genocide in this country over the past 400 years. That's my opinion. Guy's coming to apologize for genocide. Hopefully, right? And if so, there's someone out there that's like, too much. I'd like to point to the graves all across this country that are stacked with dead kids. And then let's go over the history of what they did to those children. And then let's go over the history and every news story from the past 400 years. Let's just Google it. Let's just Google it from like legitimate news organizations and count them up. And then I'm going to go down there with those in my pocket, all those receipts in my cloak, my roby cloak, my Catholic fake robe cloak, my clergy cloak. I'm going to go in there, and when they're like, that's rude, I'm going to go, oh, really? How about these receipts? How about this for rude? How about this for offensive?
This conversation,
I know you can't win, but it's a joy to me. Like, I enjoy it. I get a kick out of it. Like, I truly do believe, and I really mean this, that the Pope coming to town, wherever he goes, there is going to be a serious uptick in hooking up in online apps, because there are some priests.
You know what? Can I say something about that?
Yeah,
that's
I'm gonna get it.
That's the one thing that I find like wildly interesting about religion, is that you live in this situation where you're living by somebody else's rules, and you're trying to. Somebody else decided what it was that was right and wrong. Now, for whatever reason, you've adopted that belief structure and you're trying to live that way. And maybe you don't necessarily align up with that belief structure, right? As a person. And so you end up hiding who you really are for somebody else's belief. It drives me crazy that there's so many people out there
that's religion
that are difficult, like aren't living their true lives and being who they really want to be based on somebody else's idea of what right and wrong is, right? And that's the thing that drives me crazy about religion.
Do you know why they do that?
Who cares what you want? Who cares what your kink is? Who cares who you fall in love with? If you want to have sex with a damn toaster, that's up to you. It shouldn't matter what somebody else says in a book. That's what drives me crazy about religion, is that somebody else decided these things. This is the parameter. This is what means to be a good person. And it's not. It isn't.
Correct.
No.
Also, based on zero empirical proof. None.
Yeah.
Just a fucking rumor in a book that was written in 1611 and has been bastardized over the past couple thousand years in different versions. Like that, and I don't want to get into the
sad,
apologetics
though,
of
isn't
religion.
it? Don't you guys find that sad?
It is, but it isn't, because you know what the trade-off is for those people that are going to be there? Like, there are a lot of people there that literally, truly are really excited to see this guy. There are people that follow this faith, that follow the philosophy behind that faith, not the faith itself, but the faith, like they really believe in all of it. And you know why they do it? And listen, this is the reason everybody believes in some fugazi religion that makes no sense, and there's a sky daddy and a killjoy that tells everybody what to do. And I have absolutely no patience.
I know why.
But here's why. Because they are either A, not smart enough to do the math that says, wait a second, when I die, I just go in the dirt. Is that correct? And the other part is that they cannot understand it, so they reach for something that helps them explain what they do not understand. So it's almost like someone saying, here's a belief system. This is going to work for you. You got a couple things you do if you're going to adopt this belief system. Mainly give us 10% of every dollar that your family makes. That's called tithing. The other thing you have to do is go to church every Sunday. The other thing is you got to do is you got to go inside. You got to tell the church guy. You got to tell the priest, like, hey, this is all the shit I did wrong this week, so he can kind of keep tabs on you. And then you go say your Hail Marys. In the Christian church, it's not indifferent, but there's no confession. Same thing. You do it on your own. You pray on your own. But it's literally porting a belief system onto people who are too weak to understand and accept the fact that when you die, you go in the dirt and the lights go out and nobody really has an answer after that. That's why I'm agnostic. That's how I feel. And the other thing is that not only are they not dumb, they're so scared. They're all stupid, and a lot of them are scared. And I feel sorry for the scared people, not the stupid people, because scared people will adopt anything they can to get that fear out of their head, and it's all the fear of death. That's all it is. Every single one of those
I
people
wish it was
is
that
so
simple.
afraid of death.
It was all about nobody knew where the sun went at night.
The confusing thing for me is I've got friends and I've met people that are quite intelligent that have a belief structure that includes some form of religion.
That's generational
that's where
manipulation. It doesn't matter how smart you are. That's being generationally manipulated, like for literally an entire family's worth of bullshit that just gets poured into the next kid's head. And it goes and goes and goes. And we're afraid, socially, we're afraid to speak out about it, especially if we're in a family that has deep religious belief that has been pounded into you for years and years and years. You're afraid to, because you love your family, but you're afraid to hurt them. So people are like, all right, I guess I'll just fucking go with this. And then here we are. And the grift keeps going. And religion relies on that. They rely on the pangs of guilt. That's why much of the manipulation comes from guilt, not from belief in something better. It's from guilt. This is what's going to fucking happen if you don't believe in us. So it's textbook manipulation.
All bullshit. It's all bullshit. One of the great fucking one of the great sadnesses that I have in my life, and it's not even sad, is that I was not forced into evangelical Christianity, but it was like it was a familial thing. It was generational, right? It came into our family. My parents did it when I was really young. They're like, "Hey, we go to church now." I'm like, "I guess, whatever." Never even really fucking believed in it. But the bullshit that I saw and the hate that I saw and the division that I saw, I'm like, I can't buy into this stuff.
The judgment.
I used to get kicked out of youth group all the time. And I remember Doug Weeb, our pastor, he's like, "Hey, here's the deal. If you sin against God, you go to hell. Unless you say this magic prayer." And the magic prayer is accepting Jesus into your heart as your Lord and Savior. And then you're good. You're covered. And this is what he said. He's like, it's fire insurance. Because when you go to hell, if you don't say this prayer, you burn like you've been burned in a fire, but you do it forever. And you hear weeping and gnashing of teeth. And it's terrible. And it's going to be awful. So say this prayer. Well, what fucking 14-year-old who isn't afraid of the dark isn't going to say that prayer? Like, what 14-year-old isn't going to go, "Ooh, fuck, that sounds terrible," when you got like a 40-year-old dude going, "Hey, this is the reality of what happens after you die." And you look up to these people. And that's what the Catholic Church has done to people for thousands of years. It's what organized religion has done for thousands of years. It's what philosophy doesn't do to people. That's what, counselors and CBT therapists don't do to people. They're like, "No, man, we're here for a good time, not a long time," in the words of Trooper, right? Remember that? We're here for a good time, not a long time. So have a good time because the sun doesn't shine every day. Trooper is all about cognitive behavioral therapy. If you want to know, we're here for a good time, not a long time. So have a good time as the sun doesn't shine, because when you die, it's over. And this guy's coming to town, and he is literally going to go and preach to a whole bunch of people, talk about God's love from a pulpit and from a person who legitimately doesn't recognize homosexuality as a thing. Thinks it's a sin.
I thought they were coming around on that.
No,
weren't they?
Still not coming around.
No,
this Pope does a little bit.
Equal. Nah, he doesn't. He just does it.
Isn't he gay friendly?
Clicks.
I thought he was.
It's because they're bleeding membership, so they have to. And they've done this for centuries. Is where they realize things.
Money isn't coming.
That's it. They realize we need to adapt to make sure that our fucking collection plates stay full, and that's all this is. And now, even with the extreme, if you look at now the Catholic Church now from 30 years ago, if a Catholic Pope, priest, deacon, cardinal from 30 years ago saw, an old guy saw what was going on today, he'd shit. He'd be like, "We're what? We're gays? Fuck you!" You know, they wouldn't stand for it, but they have to, because, and then it's like, okay, there, deacon, shut your lights off, lock the door, because we can't afford your church now. Oh, okay, I guess, well, God loves everybody, and and now it's fucking convenient for you because the money's fucking running dry. So
I'm just thinking about my childhood, and the accidental druggings don't seem so bad now.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
You had a
I was
fucking
brought
great
up Roman Catholic. I was brought up Roman Catholic, and like Dean said about the prayer thing, I remember reaching that age where I started thinking, oh my God, what if I don't say it? You know, I'm like literally in my head, I'm not going to say that prayer tonight and see what happens tomorrow. And going to bed scared shitless and wake up and go, oh, fuck, nothing happened. Okay, I'm going to do it again tonight. Yeah, then it was like, maybe I should look a little deeper into this and see what the fuck is going on. I was probably about 14, 15. Yeah. And I went, you know what? This is bullshit. And then it's like, yeah, no, this is bullshit. So I started reading guys like Christopher Hitchens. I started reading guys like Richard Dawkins. Dawkins is my hero. And then it literally took me to unprogram my own self. I just told my family, I'm done. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. You guys you believe whatever you want, but midnight mass on Christmas Eve, I'm going to be tanked now when we go. Just so you know, I'm going to be like, I'll go with you, but I'm going to be ripped and I'm going to have a good time. So they're like, oh, why don't you just stay home then? It's like, okay, I'll stay home. So
I would have had trouble with the whole you can't beat off thing. Because I was whacking off at a very feverish rate by the time I was about 12.
I'll tell you a story. My brother's going to be on the show at noon with me. He's in Ukraine, and we're going to talk about some of the work that he's doing. So we're going to do a little quick show at like noon. It shows people some things they need to
tomorrow.
See. Yeah,
awesome.
But he and I have a great story. So and he'll tell you the same story, even though he's a reverend, doesn't practice anymore. He just goes around feeding people because he's like, this is bunk shit.
He does the good work.
He does the good work. Yeah. But like, you know,
that's the thing about religion. There are a lot of really good people in the religious community, and there are a lot of people that believe that it still actually leads to a path of repair in the world that we live in. And those are the people I feel bad about too, because I think there is a sense that we need something to believe in the world that we live in right now more than ever.
Because they don't want to do the work. That's the other thing. They want magic because they don't want to do the work.
Your story.
Oh, sorry. No. It's okay. I'm glad you did. And we were getting back. You want to get back to masturbating in the church? Yeah. Is that the thing? Yeah.
Oh, I told whacked you the story, off in the church.
In the church?
No. But my dad one time, he's like, "Hey, we got to go to church tonight." It's like a Tuesday. I'm like, "Why?" I was 12. My brother's 14. And he's like, "Because there's a special on from James Dobson, Focus on the Family for Young Men. Shut up and get in the car." And I'm like, God is love. Let's go.
10-4, Dad.
God is love. Let's go, dude.
A lot of things are coming together.
Upside the head. Get in the fucking car. I'm like, all right, God is love. Let's have at it.
Dean so we doesn't ever question the fact that he was beaten as a child, eh? Never does.
No. So we get in the car. We go to the church. We walk in, and it's like
the only one, by the way,
treat you, and they're like, you can sit here. I'm like, it's a sea of dads and their young men. Like I'm in the 6th grade. I hadn't jerked off once yet, and so we sit down, and I'm like, movie night. I don't even know what this is. Movie night. So this guy starts, James Dobson, Focus on the Family. He's like, I'm here to talk to you today about the demon of masturbation. I'm like, oh, you got to be fucking kidding me. I was 12. You got to be kidding me.
Beside your old man, too.
The demon of masturbation. This right next to my dad, and my dad is sweating bullets because he didn't want to be there either. He's like, fuck, I guess the church told us to come, so fuck, I don't want to be here either. So he's in church. I'm in church. My brother's in church. I got my hands on my head the whole time like this. Fuck, I can't even look up at this guy. I'm so embarrassed to be me. He's talking about masturbating. And I'll never forget, like, he's like, one of the things he said, he's like, the only way the devil can get into your body, demons get into your body, is through your wiener when you're jerking off. Now, I'm paraphrasing because it was a religious thing.
I'm pretty sure he didn't say through your wiener while you're jerking off.
Right?
While you're tossing
that sounds more like a locker room master class.
This fucking movie lasted for an hour. We get out, and I am almost in tears because I'm mortified, embarrassed that I had to sit through this whole thing. And we go home, and I'm in the backseat with the car with my brother, and I look at him, and he looks at me, and I'm like, and we're both like, it's like we just went to war at 12. I'm like, what are we
Oh, my God.
Like, I had no, I'm like, what is, and it wasn't the masturbation stuff. You know what it was? It was the fact that I thought we're in some kind of wacky movement here, dude. Like, at the age of 12, I'm like, nah, this isn't sitting right with me. Like, I don't think you should do this.
Nobody's questioned. Sorry, nobody's questioned the fact, by the way, for fucking centuries that they have a real fucking weird obsession with our junk. Like a real weird, long fucking look at our junk. At every corner of every decision the church makes, they need to know what's going on in your pants.
A very serious obsession with mine too.
Well, so do I. But I don't need to pretend that there's some dude in a cloud peeking down, going, "Oh, I see him. He's doing it. I'm gonna kill a kitten because he's doing that. Yeah. Kittens are dying because of you."
Yeah,
it's funny because I can remember.
God cries. I'm like, well, fuck.
I can remember when I was about 12 or 13 or 14.
Some Zoloft. He's going to have a hard time.
Yeah, God, you better take some medication because I'm going to pull one off right now that is going to be legendary. And here's the other thing I'm going to do, God. Watch some porn while I do it.
Well, you know what? I think it's interesting that that you guys were that you were getting to that point because I didn't have it in my life, but I remember like being at a point at 12 or 13 or 14 years of age where I was starting to like question things and come into my own. And you know what I mean? I can see that being a really difficult time for if you're 12-year-old, 13-year-old boy and you're in a religious family and it's just, this is what we do, right? I can see that being a very difficult time in a lot of young men's life if it's being forced on them. So it's funny that you two, having gone through it as a kid, recall that age as being sort of a formative sort of time for you,
and the age of reason,
and your separation from religion.
Had we not separated from religion, you know who we'd be? Jordan Peterson.
Exactly. Absolutely disconnected from
one
reality.
Of those fucking losers. It's like, I hate my life. Who do I follow? Jordan Peterson. Those guys follow Jordan Peterson. That's your telltale right there.
It's interesting though. It's interesting though that we are at a point in where, I mean, that's why I'm cautious about undressing religion and being as critical as we are about it, because I think there are a lot of people out there that need it in their lives. And I think it's becoming even more critical now. And I'm not saying religion specifically. I'm saying we are at a time now where there are people out there that are asking a lot of questions and they need some form of support on some level, something to hang their hats on, right?
We've said that. We've always said that, though. We always say, well, it's because, we're in times of uncertainty. We've been in times of uncertainty for centuries.
Forever.
So it's time to stop doing that. And what gets me is when you look at somebody that's, say, terminally ill in a hospital, and it's like, well, that's God's will. Or somebody dies in a car accident. Well, the doctors did everything they could. It wasn't God's fault. Now it's the doctor's fault. But if they save that guy, thank God. Nobody, and this includes the people that do the work, that don't take the credit for themselves, and they all of a sudden give it to some fucking imaginary friend. It's like, you did that. Why aren't you taking credit? Like, you should be proud of what you do. Be proud of the work that you do. You did this. Nobody else influenced you. You did this. You're all on your own. And that's where I think people get robbed. And they rob themselves of that. And that's where the self-esteem thing goes down. Because they wonder, why don't I have such a low self-esteem? It's because you give the credit for your fucking accomplishments to somebody that doesn't fucking exist.
Yeah, that's a great point.
That's very interesting, Ryan.
So
they feel useless,
which
they are. Because they believe in a Fugazi religion. They're sky daddies like, listen, jerk off.
It's tough. It's tough. Oh,
when's he coming?
Who, God or the Pope?
No, the Pope.
The Pope he arrives on Sunday, and there's, and it's at Commonwealth. There's a mass. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Like he does
Catholic is mass. Yeah.
So he's doing
gets the
something
fucking incense out.
Tuesday. And then he's
really
traveling around other parts.
Yeah.
Because he's going to go to
the apology
residential schools.
Yeah, he's going to go to residential school sites. Have you guys ever, and here's the other thing, have you guys ever apologized for something? Like, have you ever had to sit in front of somebody after you got caught doing something and go, you know what? I did.
Dude, I went to
Speaking of
confession.
masturbating.
Dude, I used to go to confession, like actual Catholic confession.
No, but I mean, like, have you ever, like, I don't know if anybody knows this, I've had to author a couple of radio apologies in front of people, right?
Few.
I've also, as someone who does not drink and had to do the
Hold
work
on,
of that,
hold
I
on,
had to go,
hold
hang on,
on,
let me
let me
finish.
ask.
I had to go through like a series of something called making amends, where you
Right.
have to go and sit down with somebody and you go, I did this. I recognize that it was my doing, not yours. I'm sorry. You can't really care what comes back, right? Like, and they
Right.
were for minor things. They weren't for stealing. They definitely weren't for pedophilia, and they for sure weren't for murdering young children over the past 400 years. But can you imagine the anxiety? Like, he would have to have all kinds of anxiety standing in front of what does Commonwealth hold? 80,000 people?
60, I think, if you fill it.
60,000?
Wow.
I
Big
think.
stadium. Yeah, it's big.
And you know he's going to fill it.
60,000 people in Alberta.
I could
In
be wrong
Alberta,
on
where
that.
a lot of these schools are, because a lot of them are Western Canada.
Hmm.
In Alberta,
Yeah,
standing there
Saskatchewan.
going, yeah, I know the genocide. Like, he's not apologizing for stealing a plate from an ant. He's not apologizing for skipping out on a bill or impregnating some young lady. He's apologizing for his Uber rating, sanctioned genocide to people who will be in the audience, to their entire lineage and their family. If he doesn't sweat and cry, and if this doesn't come with all kinds of money, if he doesn't lay prostrate, that's next to your wiener. If he doesn't lay prostrate,
Ask your local priest to find it for you.
on the ground in front of those people, he doesn't fucking mean it. That's my opinion. He does not. Like, this should be the world's greatest fucking apology. An apology for the ages. Apologizing for literally trying to and almost wiping out hundreds of thousands of Indigenous people in this country over the past 400 years for the white man, because of the white man. He needs to apologize for monkeypox blankets. Like, I want him to apologize for each individual fucking stupid, awful, terrible, genocidal thing that the Catholic Church, line item by fucking line item. That guy should be sitting in Commonwealth Stadium saying sorry for fucking weeks.
Now, I have a
Have they
question.
apologized? Has the Catholic Church apologized for all of the
Buggery of the children?
Have they apologized for that?
No.
Not
they've
on
been
an official
hiding it.
scale.
No. Not like, hey, guys, listen, I know we've had thousands and thousands and thousands of priests
It's
rape
thousands.
altar boys and children.
Thousands, right?
Thousands.
Oh, like
thousands
literally
and
tens of thousands. I have a list.
was that movie?
I have the list.
What was that movie?
What movie?
The one that
The Mission? Robert De Niro?
no,
Missionary?
it was with it was damn it. Somebody in the comments section might know what I'm talking about. Did anybody watch The Addams Project? The dad in that was the star of it.
No.
And it was about the research and the work that the legal system went to in Boston back in the day, like 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And it was thousands. The Catholic Church used to move these guys around all over the country. When they had a problem in one town, they would just move them. But in that one area, it was like thousands of priests, hundreds of priests, thousands of kids.
France.
What was that movie?
For it. France is terrible. Actually, in the papers that I have, because I was actually writing, I was working on a post for DeanBlundell.com. France is like the highest that I've seen yet.
It was the newspaper that broke the story. Yes. Stone Seawitch.
Okay, yeah. It was the movie about the newspaper that broke the story. Oh, yeah, I'm not
and
sure
the
which
writer.
one. But yeah, it was.
I think. Sorry,
but
if I can't. Mark Ruffalo was in that. I think.
Mark
if I'm not mistaken.
Ruffalo. That's the guy.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
know what
guy
you're
I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I didn't mean to interrupt, Lindsay.
No. I was just. I wanted to ask. It's gone now, but yeah. I go on. Seriously,
It's called Spotlight.
Yes.
It's called Spotlight. Yeah, it was called Spotlight. Someone said Potlight.
Sorry, Linz.
Someone
No, it's
said
okay.
Spotlight.
That's a
Spotlight.
really
It'll
good
come
movie.
back.
But the numbers in that movie were insane, and it's a true story. And nobody went on to question it and say, yeah, that was all a fabrication. Nobody did. That movie came out, it hit theaters, and it was like disturbing what they uncovered.
Yeah.
And that's probably the work that they did in that movie is probably what you have now, Linz.
Yeah, it is a lot of it. Like they probably pulled from the papers that I have, and it's disturbing is like an understatement. But the question I actually had for you guys, Lochlin, maybe you know because you're local, because it's such a high profile apology that's happening in Canada. Is Trudeau going to be there to glom onto that and co-apologize with the Pope? You think he would? Because the government was involved in this, right? Like the government was the one that took the direction from the church and said, let's work together on fucking the natives. Can we do this together? I'm wondering if he's going to show.
The one thing that I know that has
for 2 years straight now. So
that I know that has come out.
No, I know, but they get watered down because he does it every day.
That's true. Sorry.
Oh, he's so bad at it too, because it's so like unbelievable. Like you just can't believe it. It just seems so fake. Anyway, the one thing that I have heard is the comment that governments have stepped up. The government has stepped up in this situation and said that, we need to recognize that this was an issue and our part in it was wrong. And now here's some money. The reason this visit's happening is because there was a pressure put on the church. And this is just my very base understanding of it. And this is why the Pope is actually even coming to Edmonton, was because there has been pressure that they haven't stepped up in a similar fashion that they can. Listen, there's no way to apologize for this. I'm sorry. I understand what Dean's saying, but you just can't apologize for this. It's going to fall flat.
It would have to go through action, not through words. You're right. And there was an Indigenous delegation that was sent to Rome. If you remember, there was pictures of them having like a prayer circle outside of the Vatican. And and that's what put the pressure on him to actually have an official visit here finally. So you're right.
That and governments, I think even to Justin Trudeau's credit, he stepped up and said, I think it's now the church's time.
Yeah.
Right? And I think what he meant was, listen, your words are going to mean something, but this is going to have a little more impact on it.
Yeah.
It's interesting about how, for me, it's not necessarily, I don't want to judge the apology on any level because it didn't impact me. What I would like to see is the Indigenous community, and if they're happy with the apology, if it's something that they're comfortable with, because you've got a very extreme point of view from the Indigenous community about what needs to be done as well. And I think that should be the driving force behind this, and about whether or not it was right or wrong on how it was handled, right?
Yeah. And if there was anybody that we could learn from about, accepting and moving on, it is the Indigenous, because when they were in Rome, they were the ones celebrating the fact that it was just even recognized. So I think it's going to be received well. It's just a matter of I think the optics from everybody at like the entire developed world is going to be watching going, that's not enough. That's not enough. Like you can't just.
It'll never be enough. Like it almost
but they're
doesn't
prey
matter
on that.
what. Well, it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter what he does. Doesn't matter what he says. Doesn't matter. Like I'm a wishful thinker when it comes to Schadenfreude. It'd be great to see the Catholic Church get shut the fuck down. It'd be great to abolish all man-made religion and the people in it that used it to make the world a fucking worse place. But like, I think the folks just would love to have an apology. And I, it's funny because there are a lot of Indigenous people who have been Catholicized through this process too, right?
And they're still in the church.
Well, and they're looking. Yeah. There's a quote by a Reverend, an Indigenous Reverend. I'll bring this up. A number of excited Indigenous Christians from Canada's Northwest Territories preparing to see the Pope in Rome. Reverend Mabel Brown said apologies have been read from papers, read from the scripts and everything like that, but we need to hear something from the heart this time. And I think that might be good enough for a lot of people, right? I think that might be good enough for a lot of people. But like, this is a PR campaign.
Yep.
By the
this
Catholic
is that
Church.
fundraising. It's a
Yeah,
fundraiser.
but, what else do you do though, Dean?
Get, I don't know, but I think you just bring everybody to town and you say nothing. I mean, I find it all to be a joke, to be honest with you, because you're not going to get anything out of this. I mean, there are a lot of people that'll get comfort. I mean, there's a lot of people that want to touch the guy because they think that God lives and breathes in this dude's like body and soul and all the other bullshit that goes with being the Pope. But
He'll happily touch you.
Oh yeah, or some of his friends will. And then he'll send them to a different church in a different town where no one knows him yet. And he'll do it again and again and again.
It'll be interesting to see how the apology, if that's what the intent is, how it's received. And again, like I said, I'm not going to judge it because it did not impact me individually. But I think it needs to happen, Dean.
No, but
kidding
it does.
Aside,
It does.
I think what they're doing has to happen. What he's doing,
You're
has
right.
to happen.
Yep. 100%, because it does impact. I know it doesn't touch you personally, but it touches us as a social. Like our fabric
Society.
is made up by it, and we need to repair that part of the fabric. We need to.
Get rid of
I don't understand how we have such like the contentious issues we have with our Indigenous. It makes no fucking sense to me. Why it just every time we turn and it's because it's almost like they just. The nature is to just be, I've just been shit on for generations. We'll just keep getting shit on. Thanks for the crumbs here and there. Thanks, and I think the church is going to take. I'm sorry, I was just going to say I think the church is going to take advantage of that stand and that attitude that the Indigenous carry with them, in that they don't hold the grudge. They just deserve better, and we don't give it to them. So. We just give them mouth salad. We give them fucking lots of thoughts and prayers is what we do.
Went to Rage Against the Machine in Hamilton this week, you guys?
Yeah, I was going to go to that.
Incredible. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And true to Rage fashion, they were heavy on marginalized communities with a bunch of their stuff in their voices, their opinions, their rants, their music, right? Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Bulls on Parade, you may remember it. Pretty decent tune. Testify, same thing in that song. Fuck you, it's the greatest band ever. So they had a couple of stats. They had a couple of neat stats that they put up on the board behind him while Tom Morello was and a couple of the stats shocked me. They were about Indigenous communities here in Canada. Did you know an Indigenous woman is 16 times more likely to be murdered and raped than a white woman in this country?
I thought it was higher. That's come down.
Did you know? Some more stats for you. Put this in your pipe and smoke it. That the Indigenous population accounts for 5% of Canada's total population and 30% of our incarceration. Did you know that?
Yeah. Look at that. And that stat
I learned that at a
women.
Rage show.
Yeah. The stat about the women. Look at the population in comparison to that stat. That's fucking gross.
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild stuff, dude. So anyway,
nothing
he can do. I just hope that all the male hookers do a brisk business in Edmonton this week. If you're on the back pages of the seedy newspapers and you're like, I give killer blowjobs for no more than $50, expect to get a call from Father Mulcahy and his pals who are deep into the scotch, staying at the Intercontinental Hotel, feeling really randy, and be thankful that you're over the age of 21. And listen, just as an aside, if you're a young man under the age of 18, maybe don't go anywhere near Commonwealth Stadium this weekend.
Oh, laddie, why don't you come over here and bash the bishop with me?
Here's a good idea. Stay away from the festivities, because there are a bunch of creepy fucks coming in from out of town that have a proclivity, if you're to believe hundreds of thousands of stories.
Do you guys still have that connection lock with that costume maker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get Jimmy a costume, just like that.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
Jesus.
Can't you go? Yeah. That's a Halloween costume. I would totally go to Commonwealth Stadium wearing that. I totally would. Bring that up again. I would totally go to Commonwealth Stadium dressed with
Yeah, the funny thing about that is that the other two, no one knows even what they are.
Grimace. That's Grimace Elton John. That's Elton John dressed like Grimace. And I don't know, maybe. And Dominatrix Elvira.
The guy in the end is a pope. He's like
that's a very liberal office building that they work at.
Oh, this Halloween happened in like 1991.
Yeah, right.
You can't have Halloween parties like that.
That was on the roof of the Edge in
Do you know how
2005.
funny? Do you know how funny I seriously? Do you know how funny it would be to me is if someone just boned up and is like, you know what? I'm gonna go down there and fucking prank the entire Catholic Church today. So I know it's a solemn day, but let's drive the point home.
It's Edmonton. You shouldn't be even mentioning that because we got a lot of Edmonton listeners that are revamping their plans for Tuesday. Maybe I won't go to the pint tonight. I'm going to Commonwealth.
If you do that and get a picture holding up #DBS, I will send you $100 myself.
Yeah, so will I. Yeah, if you know what, let's do it. If there's a young man or a woman out there that wants to wear this outfit to the Pope's Commonwealth Stadium appearance, I will send you personally $500. But you got to stay there for the whole thing, and you have to send receipts of how many Catholic priests you pissed off with this picture.
Yeah, we want video and pictures.
Yeah, please.
And
we make sure in the videos,
Pastor
Dean
Jimmy will hear your confessions on the locker room. Far less, as it stands, far less offensive than anything we did today on the Team Blendell show.
Yeah. Dude, like I said, if anybody ever says you're being rude to Catholic and the Catholic Church, just hit the old Google machine and give them one of 4 billion references to how all the terrible genocide they committed. And say, hey, you know, this is one good turn for another. Anyway, boys, thanks for doing this. That was a lot of fun.
Good to see you. Nice to see
Liz,
you, Locke.
it was
Welcome
good
back.
to see you. Yes.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I missed you, brother.
I missed you too.
We had an interesting week this week. Are we doing a pod tomorrow, or are you just jumping on with your brother?
No, pod tomorrow at noon with my brother, noon to 2, noon to 1. Him and a guy named Chad Martz. They're in Ukraine at an undisclosed location. They've been in Donetsk, which is the eastern part, feeding people, and he's been sending me some stuff. I've been chatting with him today. It's worth showing people what's going on over there. So my brother runs this international aid organization. It's called Hungry for Life. And we're going to have him on. But then we're going to start talking at 3 o'clock because Moskrop's going to stop by from 3 to 4.
Oh, nice.
So that's the podcast tomorrow. And he just sent me an email. He's like, what do you want to talk about tomorrow? So I don't know if I want to talk about candy. Do I want to talk about If We're Too Dumb for Democracy, which is Dave's book, which is fucking incredible. Maybe talk about this church. He hates Pierre Poilievre with a passion in the way he politics as well. So maybe we'll shit on him a little bit. We might do the Mount Rushmore of candies, or we might talk about these little things. Magic in a cup. Have you seen these? Watermelon bubbly? Have you seen this? Magic in a can?
I haven't gone.
I don't know how they're
yet.
doing this. I don't know how they're doing soda water that tastes like pop, that like watermelon. But I have no idea. I have no idea this shit tastes like pop. It is the best drink I've ever had in my life. I can't get enough. And so he and I go back and forth with the new soda waters. He also likes to talk about different alcohol beverages.
Yeah, we do whiskey. I turn him on to the different bubblies and whiskeys that go together very well, and he's been trying that as well. Yeah. Can you ask your brother to try and get the doppelganger Dean to come on, maybe that he found while he's over there?
No, that guy's not there anymore. Doppelganger Dean.
That's
that
too
was crazy,
bad,
wasn't it? Yeah,
that was nuts. I can't believe
this guy in the Ukraine looks exactly like me.
You did that. You did that comparison with an old picture of you from the Edge.
Yeah,
the two of you together, and you wouldn't tell the difference. It'd be the same guy.
There's a couple of people that I've had some pictures sent to me. There's a couple of people that look a lot like me too. It's weird. Like it's weird when you see it too.
Yeah.
You know who looks like you, and I couldn't believe it, was this guy in the back with hair. That was fucking hard to believe.
Did he just see a ghost?
Yeah.
Like he looks so. You look so. Were you
that
high?
Is
Lochlin?
me.
Look at the stress on
that's
those.
That's 260-pound Lock.
Yeah. We're at a picnic table.
There was no yoga then, eh?
Yeah.
No, I was just starting to get into it at that point. Like that's probably almost 10 years ago, and I've been doing yoga since I was 41.
Put that back up. That's
sure.
Sorry, that you turn Jimmy around, and it's that costume right there. See, you could pull this off tomorrow, Lochlin.
Yeah. You and Jimmy could really shake things up. Yeah, no, you and Jimmy could shake things up. I'll send you $500 if you go down there with him dressed as a 12-year-old.
Get him an altar boy,
and you in like a priest outfit, just hold hands and stuff.
I'm in for $500 for that too.
You got to stay the whole time. It's $1,000 to you guys, dude. We've established how much of a cheap prick you are, so you should probably do it. Anyway, thanks for doing.
All right,
I'm
out of here.
All right,
Take care,
Ryan
boy.
Lindley, Lochlin Cross. 957 Cruise FM in Edmonton. That is That is Ryan Lindley from the Sheeple Shepherd podcast as well. Appreciate everybody being here, including Colin Livingstone. Sorry we didn't get to Alex Tagliani, but we talked to his business partner, and he was a lot of fun. Told us how cheap Lochlin is. And thanks to you for listening. Really appreciate it. Don't forget, you can sign up for a newsletter at deanblundell.com. And as always, it is brought to you by kivlaw.ca. If you're looking for a criminal defense attorney, you need someone to hold your hand through a legal process. You've been accused of doing something you didn't do, or if you got into trouble and you want to make sure that you can get yourself out of trouble and give yourself every opportunity to succeed after you get out of that legal system and issue, there is one guy I trust with a law degree, and that man's name is Rob Kivlikin from kivlaw.ca. His group of professionals will help you, are helping a bunch of our people now, and he wants to help you as well, walk you through your issues. He's in Ontario, Southern Ontario. He does law everywhere from Southern Ontario all the way up to north of Toronto. He's a big deal. That's what he is. And he fights for your right to actually have a legitimate shot at beating whatever it is you're going through, or at the very least understanding it and doing what's right and taking the next steps to get your life back. That's what he does. Go to kivlaw.ca. Again, kivlaw.ca. His name's Rob Kivlikin. If you're looking for a criminal defense attorney or a defense lawyer and you want to get your life back, kivlaw.ca. Thanks to our friends at Easy Auto Financial as well for making this possible. Go to easyautofinancial.ca today for financing for a vehicle. If you're having a hard time finding financing for a car, these guys are ninjas. They'll get you the financing you need, and it doesn't cost you a dime. Nothing. No obligation either. And then you can go and buy the car with that financing that they send you with in hand to the dealer that you have handpicked. They take care of all those details. It is current turnkey, no obligation. Sign up today. EasyAutoFinancial.ca. And of course, Ed at Ed's Fine Imports. I love Ed. You love Ed too. Ed's got Gitch, underpants, boxer briefs, pouch in the front. Beautiful. Order them today. He'll send them to you today. You won't get them today, but he sends them same day. And if you use promo code GITCH and then the number 3, you're going to get a free pair of underwear when you order 3 or more. And trust me, guys, these are the best underwear on the planet. Boxer briefs, again, pouch in the front, super soft, super breathable, great waistband. You can't miss. Massive online store as well at Ed's Fine Imports. You'll get 15% off when you give him your email address. He does not spam you. He'll just send you promo codes so you can get stuff at a discount, tips on how to dress, different looks that are cool for the season, updates to some of their stuff, and they've got massive online sales right now. So go to edfineimport.com and check them out today. Our friend and yours. That's it for us. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow with Mr. David Moskrop from the from the Globe and Mail, and of course Washington Post, journalist, academic, doctor. He's a doctor. He doesn't like to pimp that, but he is. He's an academic doctor. And the author of a book called Too Dumb for Democracy, which is seminal reading right now if you look at what's going on and with us around the world and how we continue to pooch this up. You had a great tweet today. It was like, are we living in the 40s again? I'm like, yeah, probably. But David Moskrop tomorrow from obviously the Globe and Mail and the Washington Post. I trust him, and you can too. He's a smart cat. We're really excited to have him. Funny guy too. So have a wonderful day, everybody. We will see you tomorrow right here on this very program right around 3 o'clock, 12 o'clock for a special live from Ukraine, how you can help as well. So we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.